What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories. 3 nanoseconds Chapter 62 Aokiji who was knocked into the air, 4th more. Advertisement Chapter 62. Aokiji who was knocked into the air, 4th more. Whoosh, whoosh, the pitch black fist quickly struck towards Aokiji, and there was a slight crackling sound in the air. This is really an incredible monster. Aokiji took a deep breath, the veins between his eyebrows popped out, and he pressed his right hand to the ground. Crack. From the soles of Kakuzu's feet, the cold ice quickly cleared under the ground, smashing the soil above with a bang, and the sharp tip of the iceberg pierced through the angled feet. Huh, then you won't be able to move. Aokiji had a smug smile on his face. This is his newly researched fighting method, using the cold air to form icebergs on the ground, and carry out sneak attacks unexpectedly. What's going on? 060. The enemy didn't scream as expected, but just frowned, and pulled his feet out of the ice Yamanaka, which made Aokiji full of surprises. Of course, Aokiji would never have imagined that Kakuzu has already replaced all the organs and nerves in the body with earth grievances, so simply piercing into Kakuzu's skin is just equivalent to piercing into a bunch of threads. Chick. 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 Threads of earth grievance began to seep out from all parts of Kakuzu's body, jet black tentacles fluttered wantonly, and Kakuzu clapped his hands on the ground at the same time. Earth resentment sowing. Pung. Pang. Pang. Under Aokiji's feet, countless black tentacles pierced the ground in an instant, attacking Aokiji. Ice peak moment. Aokiji has completely entered the fighting state at this time. The enemy in front of him is so weird that even the guys he met before can't compare. Raise your hand. The piercing ice rushes forward quickly, and the sharp tip of the ice will cut all obstacles in front of you into two. Fire style mask. There was a sneer at the corner of Kakuzu's mouth, and 2 grimace masks with blue facial patterns popped out of his back. The grimace masks were connected by the earth grudge, just blocking Kakuzu's face. It was the 5 of Kakuzu's avatars. The wind-style fire-style mask monster in the heart. Wind-style grade breakthrough, fire-style head hard. The wind-fire-style masked monster quickly approached Aokiji in midair with the thin black wings on its back, and at the same time spit out wind blades and flames from its mouth. Huang! Huang! The scorching flames quickly attacked Aokiji in the midair, which made Aokiji's face extremely ugly. It's actually a flame. Don't underestimate me, Ice Age. Aokiji's eyes flashed with anger, and the front of his right hand, the cold ice quickly created a wall of ice in front of him. Boom! A dull sound sounded, and the huge ice wall blocked the burning of the flames. However, before Aokiji could react, a monster with the same appeared behind him, and it opened its mouth and sprayed a mouthful of lightning on the ground. Lightning style. Walk. Aokiji let out a cry of pain, and his body was instantly sent flying, crashing into several walls, and looking at Kakuzu in shock, he could actually release lightning. The high temperature generated by lightning made it impossible for Aokiji to complete the elementalization at all. After this trick, his whole body is now a little numb and unresponsive. Advertisement. Earth-style hardening lightning-style false darkness. Boom. A punch comparable to Tsunade's strange power hit Aokiji's body, and the huge force wrapped the lightning, and together with Aokiji's ice wall, it fell to the edge of the coast in various ways. Aokiji. Akainu's eyes widened and he shouted. Aokiji's strength was no weaker than him, yet he was thrown hundreds of meters away by a punch. Hey, Corazon. Sengoku's face turned cold, and his eyes were full of worry, ignoring the explosion in the sky, trying to quickly approach the past. Cough cough cough. Marshal Sengoku, don't come here. Cough cough. In the huge pothole, Aokiji's body quickly jumped out. At this time, a trace of blood flowed from the corner of Aokiji's mouth. The lightning-wrapped blow just now broke 3 of Aokiji's ribs. But, Corazon! Sengoku was about to say something, but at this moment, a strand of iron sand pierced Sengoku's left shoulder, making Sengoku cry out in pain, and he no longer had the energy to look at Aokiji's situation. Boom! Earth-style earth spear. With Kakuzu's movement, a huge rock rises from the ground, turning into a sharp soil spear, and blocks in front of Kakuzu. Pung. Pang. Pang. The ice controlled by Aokiji collided with the soil spear, and it was undoubtedly smashed into pieces, and the crystal clear ice fell all over the sky. Damn it, you have to investigate this organization carefully when you go back. What kind of abilities are these? Aokiji gritted his teeth, glanced behind him, and frowned suddenly. Even with Zephyr and Garp, under the flames and repulsive attraction of Corazon, he still had no choice but to parry. Where are you looking? I am the one fighting you. Earth resentment. Swoosh. Whoosh. Whoosh. Kakuzu uttered a cold cry, and the 5 grimace masks on his chest broke away from Tachibana's body, fell to the ground and turned into 5 oval-shaped monsters with long arms. Compound Ninja. Flame Wind Chaos Wave, Odd Face Explosion Flame. The Earth Attribute Mask monster roared, and its huge right hand hit the ground in an instant, and the entire rocky 0.6 ground cracked instantly, and at the same time, a flame and strong wind burned towards Aokiji. Frozen Time Capsule. Aokiji raised his right hand high, and swung it down suddenly. A capsule of ice was thrown out. Stay holy crumbs. The cold ice began to spread along the ground, collided with the flames and burst, and finally cancelled each other out. Troublesome guy, but troublesome guy is good. How much can you sell this guy for? Kakuzu looked at the frozen ice, and quickly opened his arms. 5 huge black monsters showed destructive eyes, and opened their mouths at the same time, and the power of 5 different attributes gathered in it. Earth Resentment Final Shooting. Chapter 63 Feel the Pain with Me, 5th. Advertisement Chapter 63 Feel the Pain with Me, 5th Update. Flame, water, soil, thunder, lightning and strong wind, to fuse all these together, that guy is not afraid of being blown to death. Watching Kakuzu's movements, Aokiji shouted in shock. He and Akainu had experimented with the joint ability before, intending to see if the ice could fuse with the magma to form a more powerful destruction. But the moment the ice and magma touched, the ice seemed to turn into a bomb, and exploded in the magma pool with a power comparable to a heavy artillery shell. Therefore, they concluded that if the ability of different attributes to restrain each other can be fused together, only an explosion will be produced. But the fusion of the 5 abilities in front of me, if there is no explosion, the destructive power produced will be quite terrifying. Aokiji glanced at it, took a deep breath, and Gao Heizhong began to think wildly. To stop his ability? If you let the power generated by the 5 masked monsters fire at the same time, Aokiji feels that he can't make it to 16 at all. Even if the attributes are incompatible, he will have a miserable match. At that time, the self in that state, not to mention running away, may be able to stand still is a problem. No time to dawdle, Ice Age, Aokiji roared loudly, and the cold ice in his hand formed an ice flow with a distance of thousands of meters on the sea surface where people could walk. You can't run away at this time. Just when Aokiji was about to transform into ice and escape, a cold voice suddenly came from above the ground. I saw one with a pitcher plant on it, and the whole body looked like a plant. On both sides of the body, a black guy and a white guy wearing a red fire cloud robe rose slowly from the ground. Wood-style double wooden strangle. Under Aokiji's angry eyes, Ju's hands made a mudra, and brown wood grew on the sea surface, shattering the ice, causing Aokiji and Akainu who were about to escape to constrict their pupils and clench their palms tightly. Angle roared, and the 5 forces gathered together to form a flame-colored energy shockwave. Based on this color alone, no one knows what kind of power this shockwave contains. Before Aokiji had time to observe it, his face changed drastically, and he quickly created icebergs. At the same time, his body quickly retreated, making the ground freeze with every step. Withstand. Boom. 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 The successive impact sounds made the icebergs created by Aokiji look like rotten wood, and they were smashed to pieces in an instant. Amaterasu. Just as the all-destructive shockwave was about to hit Aokiji, Uchiha Itachi's Sharingan spun fast, a flame burning on it. The flames that even Akainu can't resist. Don't these guys have any integrity? Aokiji couldn't help but curse. Don't pirates generally like to fight alone? Why did it become a gang fight here? Akainu's arm was burned by the fire of Amaterasu before. Under Aokiji's observation, although Akainu barely separated the flame by spreading the magma, that arm was basically useless. This time the flame merged with the flame. If it hit him, he would definitely die. Advertisement, armed color, enhanced. Looking at the shockwave in front of him, Aokiji's eyes were full of fear. He roared, and his whole body was covered by armament hockey. Boom. The violent flames destroyed the ground, and after hitting Aokiji, they didn't stop, and directly blasted towards the distant sea, blasting the sea into a huge trench, which even the seawater couldn't make up for in a short time. Kakuzu, if you do this, people will die, and you won't get money or heart, so you might be confused, Hidan said with a smile on the side. Idiot, do you think I don't observe the situation like you? Kakuzu cursed, turned his head to look at the place where the ground was crystallized, strode over, the silk thread in his hand continued to spread, his ground grievances could be refined enough to completely replace the meridian nerves. This is why Kakuzu was able to survive forever, not afraid of physical damage. As long as the heart exists, I can live. Chick. 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 Aokiji, who was lucky enough to escape by hiding on the ground, didn't plan to go up at all, and kept spitting blood while clutching his chest. Even if he wasn't attacked head-on, Kakuzu's ultimate move still hurt him a lot. But at this moment, Aokiji's eyes widened suddenly, and he could feel that his meridians were being replaced. The pitch-black tentacles quickly approached his heart. Bang. 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 Aokiji heard the beating of his heart clearly in his ears, and it seemed that because of the black tentacles, his heart became stronger. Corazon. Akainu observation hockey shrouded in the past, his eyes turned cold, seeing Aokiji being captured, and the magma spreading from his hand blasted into the sky quickly. Meteor volcano. Akainu let out a low cry, hot magma rubbed from the sky like a meteorite to generate scorching heat, and quickly hit Kakuzu. Don't get in the way, your opponent is me. Just as the chain was about to touch Kakuzu, a cold voice sounded, and a huge bloody March sickle swept over. Smash 2 magma meteorites. Akatsuki Organization cadres. Akatsuki's 3 units. Hidan, you have to praise me when you meet Lord Cthulhu. Hidan raised his hands frantically, looking at the drop of blood left by 697's hands. A surprised smile appeared on his face. Gulu. Hidan stuck out his tongue and sucked the drop of blood into his mouth. Hey, with a soft sound, a pitch-black spear slipped from the cuff of Hidan's right hand, about 20 centimeters in length, and was stabbed into his thigh by Hidan's backhand. Ah, fabulous pain. Tick-tock, tick-tock. Hidan yelled frantically. Streams of blood quickly covered the ground like a fountain, and quickly drew a blood-red ball on the ground with his feet, a big blood-red circle, and a blood-red triangle inside the circle's surprising pattern. Saw. The ceremony is complete. Hidan glanced at the pattern in front of him, laughed loudly, and stepped into the pattern one step at a time. Chick, chick. As Hidan stepped in, his whole body instantly made Akainu. Surprised by the change, the whole body turned into black and white. There was a jet black origin on the forehead. The corners of the eyes were also infected by black. Only the pale face was exposed, and even the silver hair turned gray and white. Scatter. The guy who plays with magma, standing in the curse ceremony, Hidan looked up at Akainu, with an excited smile on the corner of his mouth. Feel the pain with me. Chapter 64 Curse Death by Blood, 6th more. Advertisement Chapter 64. Spells and Deaths with Blood, 4th. Curse Death is based on blood. Hidan, who had turned into black and white like an evil god, had a fanatical smile on his face, and let out a low shout. A horrible image. But it's useless at all. Akainu's face showed a trace of doubt, the ability to change the shape. Many devil fruits can do it, but a person without armament hockey. It's just changing the shape. I don't understand armament hockey. What's the use? Akainu's face was cold, and he said in a low voice. Ha 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 ha. Be arrogant, you can only be arrogant now. Right hand. Looking up at the tall Akainu, Hidan laughed wildly, stretched out his right hand, and the black spear in his left hand instantly pierced into his arm. It hurts so much, this really hurts, and I feel the same pain, can you bear it, ha ha ha. TCH. With a soft sound, the black spear pierced Hidan's right arm, and drops of blood dripped down. Hidan, who felt the pain, laughed excitedly as if he had enjoyed some kind of enjoyment. What's going on? Why is the right arm pierced? Following Hidan's movement, Akainu screamed in pain while clutching his arm, and a big hole was pierced through the arm. This pain is considered to be in the elemental state, can be clearly felt. Ha ha ha. Left hand. Hidan pulled out the pitch black spear again, and then pierced into his left hand. With Hidan's movement, Akainu's left hand was pierced at the same time. Blood flowed down the arm, even elementalization was useless. Damn. Being pierced at the same time, I understand, your ability? Akainu lowered his angry eyes slightly, and suddenly let out a roar. As long as you stand in the circle made of blood, the damage you receive will be fed back to me, but don't think you can kill me like this. The angry voice of Akainu resounded through this sea area, and the magma erupted under the threat of death was stronger than usual. The hot magma covered the body, almost comparable to a giant lava beast. Roaring and running over, every step was on the ground leave a charred footprint. It really is a monster. Looking up at Akainu, Hidan raised his mouth, opened his arms, his body trembled excitedly, and laughed fervently. This world is so beautiful, and there are people who can bear the same pain as him, which is so wonderful. Heart, although I still want to play with you, but if you continue to play, you may be taken away by others. Hidan looked at Kaido, who was like a mountain in front of him, and the black spear in his right hand instantly pierced his heart. Bang, bang, bang. At this time, Akainu's heart was beating powerfully inside his body. After hearing Hidan's words, armament hockey wrapped the heart in an instant, and his body became elemental at the same time. Wow. When Hidan's spear pierced the heart, Akainu transformed into a human form and let out a scream, and the heart stopped instantly. A piercing pain made Akainu almost faint from the pain. Boom. Akainu's 3-meter-high body shook slightly, and I fell to my knees with a plop. At this time, Akainu's eyes were white because his heart stopped beating. Ha ha ha, Kakuzu, did you see? This guy is not dead. Great, great. Seeing Akainu's appearance at this time, Hidan shouted excitedly, the sharp iron in his hand the thorn kept stabbing towards the heart. Idiot, that guy didn't die, which means your ability doesn't work on him, let me do it. Kakuzu carried Aokiji on the ground to his shoulder and said lightly. Advertisement, there is no chakra in Aokiji's body, and it is useless to have a heart, so he has to keep it for money. No, Kakuzu, if you dare to come here, I will kill you. This guy is mine. I want to see how long he can bear the pain with me. Hidan yelled loudly like a child afraid of being robbed of a toy. Idiot, I don't care about you if you die. Kakuzu cursed slightly, then walked to the side of the tree and stopped. Ha 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 ha. Hidan laughed excitedly. The spikes in his hands stabbed violently towards his body, heart, arms, thighs. At it, the attack was so ruthless that even Leilasong felt chills all over after unintentionally glancing at it. Is this guy not afraid of impotence? The corner of Corazon's mouth twitched. Fortunately, Hidan was not the strongest in the Akatsuki organization. Otherwise, when he thought of Hidan's attack methods, his heart would feel a little cold. Zephyr, you get out of here first. The old man holds this guy. After you leave, the old man will save Kizaru and the others. Garp, whose body was completely blackened, roared angrily. Zephyr nodded, turned around and ran towards the distant sea without looking back. At this time, his mental state and physical state were not optimistic. It seems that Orochimaru added something to the cup of tea that made him unable to fully exert his strength, and staying here can only be a drag. Can a person who can't even fly run away from me? Corazon hooked his mouth, glanced at Garp, and 6 golden chains wound around him again. Garp's eyes were fixed, and he took a few steps back. If the adamantine ceiling chains hadn't retracted in the explosion just now, he might not be able to break free until now. Seeing the golden chains suddenly, Garp almost felt a shadow in his heart. The roar of the demon of flame, Wang Wang Jiao. Seeing Garp take 2 steps back, Corazon hooked the corner of his mouth, opened his mouth, and a powerful flame burned in his mouth. What do you want? Garp's expression changed, as if he had sensed Corazon's thoughts. He was no longer afraid of those golden chains. He stepped on the sky, and seemed to have 8 more arms in an instant, hitting those golden chains, trying to get close to Corazon. Boom! The flames in Corazon's mouth gathered to a point, and a flame as strong as a volcanic eruption spewed out, bombarding Garp's body. Garp roared, but it had no effect, and was directly smashed into the middle of the seawater. TCH, realize it, it's a pity it's too late, of course I want to snatch my instructor over. The corners of Corazon's mouth curled up, and he said something playful, and when Garp's eyes widened, he rushed towards Jifa. Advertisement Chapter 65 Planetary Devastation Seal Open Black Lens Bracket 7th Close Black Lens Bracket. Advertisement Chapter 65 Planetary Devastation Seal Open Black Lens Bracket 7th Close Black Lens Bracket. Zephyr, it's not easy for you as a Marine. Not only do you have to abandon your wife and son, but you also have to bear the reputation of running away this time. Tisk tisk tisk, if I had you, I would have quit Marine a long time ago. Corazon manipulated gravity, put his hands in his pockets, and looked at Zephyr playfully. This man can be said to be the saddest one among the pirates, because he insisted on his own justice and never killed a pirate. After the pirate was released after serving his sentence, he killed his wife and son, which had an impact on his justice. Then in the battle with Whitebeard too, he lost an arm and all the Marine students were killed, causing a second impact. In the end, when only Marine was left with justice, Marine came up with another Shichibukai plan, and actually wanted to invite Whitebeard too. If you think about it this way, I'm still a good person. Corazon thought, couldn't help but smile. B**********D, what did you do to Garp, Black Arm? His old friend was F********ed to the ground, which made Zephyr so angry that he didn't care about his own state, wrapped armament hockey around his arms, and hit Corazon. A naturally evil brat like you, Marine should have dealt with you long ago. Zephyr had never been so remorseful. Why didn't Sengoku follow Kizaru's words and deal with Corazon first? What's the use of saying these things now? It's all because of your carelessness. Corazon showed a playful smile, raised his arm, touched his index finger and thumb together, and flicked it out lightly. Boom. Although it was just a finger, from Zephyr's point of view at this time, it felt like a mountain was pressing down on the top. There was a sound of bones breaking on the fist, and he yelled in pain. The body was smashed and flew into the sea. Call. Corazon blew on his fingers and looked at Zephyr in surprise. Although Orochimaru had told him before that he had given Zephyr medicine, what kind of medicine had such an obvious effect? Drink. With a roar, Zephyr stomped the air and rushed up, then was thrown into the sea again, and rushed up again. After a few times, Zephyr was like immune to death's Xiaoqiang, which made Corazon a little bit upset. Even if you were in your heyday, you may not be my opponent at this time. Have you not recognized the situation yet? Then I will let you understand. With a little anger in his heart, Corazon's eyes flickered with coldness, and he grabbed Zephyr's neck. Although he needs Zephyr to teach him armament hockey and observation hockey, but not now, to capture Zephyr back, he has 1,000 ways to get Zephyr to give in. Ahem, even if I'm not as strong as you, it's impossible for you to take me back alive. Zephyr coughed up 2 mouthfuls of blood, and shouted with firm eyes. Snort. Corazon snorted coldly and said nothing, clapped his hands together, chakra all over his body poured into his hands, and 10 white-black balls slowly emerged in Corazon's hands. After brutally pressing the black ball on Zephyr's chest, Corazon clapped his hands, and the violent attraction instantly brought Zephyr into the sky. Planetary Devastation. When Zephyr flew into the sky, the surrounding sea area trembled faintly, but the fluctuation was so inconspicuous that others didn't notice it at all. What is this? Get the hell out of here, why can't you take it away? Advertisement Zephyr grabbed the black ball and wanted to throw it away, but found that the ball seemed to be glued to it, clinging to his body tightly. No matter how much he tried to hold it, it would be useless. At this moment, Zephyr's eyes widened suddenly. Looking at a boulder that was gradually flying over, I was shocked in my heart, turned my head, and looked at the black ball in disbelief. It's not that he's stalking me, it's BGDF, that I'm stalking him. Of course, this is the core of a star, although it's not very big, Corazon said helplessly, spreading his hands. Zephyr's face darkened, saying that he was fat and panting. Boom. Smashing an oncoming boulder, Zephyr tried his best to escape the gravitational range, but there was a bigger boulder head-on. Boom, boom, boom. Seeing Zephyr looking tired, smashing boulders that flew from the ground into the sky one after another, Corazon pouted lazily and walked towards the main country of Darius Rosa with his hands in his pockets. In the final analysis, Heavenly Pain's planetary devastation technique lies in vitality and chakra, and it happens that he does not lack these 2 things. If so, how can Zephyr get rid of the influence of strong gravity? Hey, gentlemen, have you solved it? Looking at the people on the island, Corazon greeted with a smile and asked. Uchiha Itachi, Kakuzu and others looked at each other, half kneeling on the ground in shame. Kisame said in a deep voice. Your Majesty, we only captured 1 person, and the rest accidentally let them escape. Oh. Corazon was not angry after hearing this, and raised his eyebrows to signal him to continue talking. Originally, we had already defeated that guy named Sengoku, Akainu, but the guy named Kizaru was extremely fast. After saving that guy named Kizaru, the subordinates couldn't catch up. Oh, him? Corazon nodded knowingly. With Kizaru's speed, it is not very difficult to rescue a person by surprise. And what about the other one? Hearing Corazon asked about Sengoku, The corner of Kisami's mouth twitched slightly, and he didn't speak for a while. Scorpion continued. I was rescued by a guy who looks like Kisame. That guy was so fast in the water that even Kisame couldn't catch up. The corner of Guishia's mouth twitched. He was stunned when he saw that guy, so he let them run away. Like a ghost shark. Corazon couldn't help laughing. Most of the Kisame and ninja swordsmen have undergone genetic modification to make them more adaptable to the water flow. Those who can look similar to Kisame and have the strength to escape should be Shichibukai Murloc Jinbei. Your Majesty, please kill that guy, Kisame pleaded with a dark face. Why? Corazon asked with great interest. He really didn't know why Kisame was so angry. He actually asked me to join some Murloc race. I'm not a real fish, Ghost Shark said with flaming eyes. Oh, ha ha ha. Corazon couldn't hold it back. He burst out laughing, and even the people with Akatsuki laughed, making Kisami's eyes angry. Chapter 66 Target Germa Liu Liu, First Update. Advertisement Chapter 66 Target Germa Liu Liu, First Update. After laughing, Corazon still had a smile on his face, and turned to look at Aokiji that Kakuzu was carrying. With this guy here, we can also eat smoothies at Shatien in the future. My lord, don't we take this guy out and sell it? Kakuzu looked at Kailasong suspiciously. He arrested Aokiji just to sell him for a good price. Are you selling pigs? Corazon pouted and sold Aokiji for a good price, unless it was a living person, but he had no plans to support Marine, not to mention that after robbing Marijoy, she would not be short of money in a short time. Okay, then go and learn armed color and observation hockey for me, otherwise you won't know how to die in this world. Corazon turned his head, looked at a huge khaki meteorite in the sky, and said lightly. Yes. Members of the Akatsuki organization respectfully responded. Immediately, Corazon stretched out his palm, violent flames burned on his hand, and a trace of fiery red lines covered it. His eyes turned cold, and the flames and lines entangled with each other, as if forming a devil's pattern. The flame wings on both sides of the body were burning, and the flaming fist hit the meteorite. The devil's iron fist. Boom. The meteorite was pierced through a big hole in an instant, and countless gravels rolled down from the sky and hit the sea surface, causing an uproar in the sea. Wow. Zephyr, who was in the center of the meteorite, spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was scorched black, as if he had just been dug out of a coal mine. Corazon, you want me to give in to you? Die of this heart. Resisting the desire to vomit blood in his chest, Zephyr said viciously, with an extremely firm tone. Yeah? Corazon's lazy voice made Zephyr feel like he had punched a cotton, and almost vomited blood. Tough guy. It doesn't matter, I like to deal with tough guys the most. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled into a dangerous arc slightly, and Zephyr saw the smile on Corazon's face, and for some reason, he had an ominous premonition in his heart. Orochimaru, don't study, come and revive the wife and son of the senior law enforcement, Corazon urged, making Orochimaru, who was circling around Aokiji, turn his eyes. Ho ho ho, your majesty, reanimation jutsu can't feel pain. Orochimaru seemed to have guessed what Corazon wanted to do. He laughed hoarsely, and took out a crystal-clear crystal bottle from his bosom. That's my wife's ashes. Zephyr's eyes widened, and he looked at Orochimaru angrily and shouted. Corazon Orochimaru, what are you doing? Something is coming at me, don't do anything to my wife. Advertisement. Unfortunately, both Orochimaru and Corazon paid no attention to it and gestured to White Zetsu, who split into a pure white human body. Reanimation jutsu. Orochimaru bit his finger, pressed on the ground. Immediately, countless white papers covered White Zetsu's body. After a strange twist, the white papers covered White Zetsu's whole body. The appearance of White Zetsu has also undergone earth-shaking changes. Look, Zephyr, I've summoned your wife, and if you're willing to teach these guys armament hockey and observation hockey, I'll put you two together, how about that? Pointing to the woman with blank eyes on the ground, Corazon said with a smile. Zephyr's eyes were tearing apart, and he wanted to rush up angrily, but he was directly pressed to the ground by Hidan and Kakuzu, and he could only watch all this angrily. It seems that you don't agree. Corazon raised his mouth, spread his hands helplessly, and took the beheading knife from Zai Biyuzan's hand, saying. Then I have no choice but to see your wife die in front of you again, and this process goes on and will never stop. The beheading knife left an arc in the sky, and just as he was about to cut off Zephyr's wife's head, Zephyr seemed to be 10 years old in an instant, and said in an old voice. I promise you, I will give you armament hockey, let go of my wife quickly. Good. Corazon's eyes lit up, and he retracted the beheading sword. For that armament hockey, he has been envious for a long time, but no matter how hard he practiced, it was difficult to cultivate it. Now that he has Zephyr, it can be said that he is like a fish in water. Ask for flowers, Orochimaru, let's revive the son of Senior Zephyr, and let their family live happily here. Corazon turned his head and laughed. Yes. Orochimaru responded excitedly, and Zephyr promised to teach them armament hockey here, which made this technology madman so excited that he wanted to see how the so-called armament hockey should be cultivated. After casually ordering Zephyr not to be chained, Corazon walked towards the palace with excitement in his eyes. He didn't worry about Zephyr running away at all. As long as Zephyr's wife and son stayed here, Zephyr would never leave voluntarily, and he was doing a good deed. System. I have established an empire. What should I do next if I want to summon other forces? Corazon looked at the system in his mind and asked excitedly. Reporting to host, after the establishment of the empire, the system can be summoned by expanding the population and establishing armed forces. When the population reaches 5 million, A-level forces can be summoned, and when it reaches 10 million, S-level forces can be summoned. With an armed force of 100,000, you can summon A-level forces, and with an armed force of 500,000, you can summon S-level forces. Corazon nodded thoughtfully, and he really became the king of the empire. All he needs to do is to make the empire stronger. And now, although his empire appears to be very strong, in fact, it is far inferior to those ordinary kingdoms in terms of economy and ordinary armed forces. Thinking of this, the corners of Corazon's mouth twitched. Unexpectedly, the 7 ninja swordsmen and the demons from the Gate of Hades attacked so ruthlessly that the entire army of the 9 kingdoms was basically wiped out. Armed forces. Armed forces. After Corazon pondered for a moment, his eyes lit up. When it comes to armed forces, besides Marine, Germa 66 is probably the strongest. Of the mass-produced clones, there is no doubt that Germa 66 was the only one that could bring armed forces in a short period of time. He had offended him just before, and Corazon had no psychological burden at all to deal with him. Chapter 67 Building a Continent, Second Change, Advertisement. Chapter 67 Building a Continent, Second Update, New World, Coalfarer Island. What? That demon Brad beat Garp, Zephyr and Sengoku, that Garp who was stronger than the captain, got beaten like this. Holding the newspaper in his hand, Pluton Rayleigh looked at the photos left by Sengoku Akainu on the Fishman Island, and his mouth was shocked from ear to ear. Don't be surprised, Rayleigh, that Brad has such a strong fighting power when fighting us, it's not too strange to defeat Marine, ha ha ha. On the side, Roger took a sip of his wine and said with a hearty laugh. How could it be possible? Pluton Rayleigh took the newspaper and slammed it on Roger's head. The situation is very serious. Jabba on the side took the newspaper, glanced at the dark Garp in the photo, and Akainu, who fell into a 223 degree of coma and was bleeding all over, said solemnly. That Corazon conquered 9 kingdoms and established a so-called empire. It seems that the ambition is very huge. Maybe it will confront us. Well, this does need to worry a little bit. Roger took a bite of the roast and muttered. Captain Idiot. Pluton Rayleigh slapped his head, feeling speechless towards Roger. Although Roger didn't care about this matter, he couldn't ignore the fact that Roger's health was getting worse and worse. If he was fighting Corazon during this period, he might have died before finding the big secret treasure. I can only speed up my pace, Rayleigh thought to himself. Whitebeard territory. Marco, is this the Brad you told me about last time? I didn't expect to beat up that old mad dog, and he's quite capable, ha 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 ha. At a banquet, Whitebeard, about 7 or 8 meters tall, with a white crescent mustache and a burly figure, laughed and said. Father, if you went to the tea party at Bigimamu last time, you might have seen this guy. Marco held the newspaper in his hand and said solemnly. Wahahaha, let me go to me a kid. It's not bad for him to come to see me. Whitebeard laughed a few times, picked up his glass and took a sip. Father, this man is very strong, he defeated Roger, don't underestimate him, Marco reminded anxiously. In the final analysis, the 9 kingdoms occupied by Corazon are in New World. Maybe they will meet one day, and if Dad is careless, he might suffer a big loss. Marco, don't worry so much, the factor is Whitebeard. Whitebeard slammed his wine glass on the ground and laughed. Island in the sky, Crya Jones. What is this, a coal digger? With a bow on his head, the shocked Golden Lion looked at the newspaper in his hand. Idiot, no matter how you look at it, it's Garp, what's going on in your head? The person who looked like a white clown slapped Golden Lion hard on the head and cursed. Scared me to death, first thought Marine was going to dig coal. Golden Lion patted his chest with lingering fear and said. How is it possible? Indigo slapped Golden Lion on the head again. But I didn't expect that Corazon still has such strength, it's really shocking. Golden Lion's face turned serious. The last time he saw Corazon, Corazon had the fighting power to fight against Roger. And this time, Garp and the others were defeated. Advertisement. Indigo, pass on my order to summon the Pirate Alliance on the sea, as long as you agree, you can bear the name of my Golden Lion. Golden Lion said, looking at the ocean below with ambition. Marine, world government. The power to control the weather is the legendary Uranus, I must get him. Huh, need to inform Corazon? Indigo asked suspiciously. No, that guy rejected me when he had no strength. Now that it's over, I'm afraid it will be a war, Golden Lion said calmly. Indigo gasped and looked at Corazon in the newspaper in shock. To actually make even the fearless Golden Lion a little bit afraid, this guy is amazing. At the same time, over the former kingdom of Darius Rosa. Hey, Pain, be careful, don't break it, Didera, make your bombs less powerful. Ghost Shark, drive away all your kind, or we will eat grilled shark today. Corazon stood in midair, loudly directing the people of Akatsuki organization. Kisami's face turned black, what is his kind? Although he looks like a shark, he is also a real human, okay. Depressed, Kisame jumped into the sea, and the sharks around seemed to have found their leader, and they followed Kisame in unison, swimming towards the distance. Art with little power can also show the beauty of art, brother Scorpion, don't be envious, ha ha ha. Didera laughed proudly, and the white lovebird in his hand quickly blew off the connection of the islands, causing waves to hit. Didera, do you want to die? Shie cursed coldly, looking at the few islands floating in the sky, feeling very depressed. The beauty of his eternal art can't play a role at this time, and he will be ridiculed by Didera. Shenluo Tianzhong, Universal pull. Tiandao Pain stretched out his palm, and the repulsive force and gravitational force switched back and forth in his palm, slowly placing the two islands controlled in the sky on the edge of the kingdom of Dariusrosa. It's our turn. Kakuzu Orochimaru walked forward slowly, with excitement in his eyes. He put his hands on the ground and shouted. Earth-style Earth-shore return. Kacha Kacha. In the ocean deep in the sea, there was a crackling 5.1 crackling, and a huge soil appeared out of thin air in the sea, firmly catching the two islands. This is. When Aokiji and Zephyr on the island saw this scene, their pupils shrank sharply, and their hearts were shocked to the extreme. To actually combine 9 islands into one continent, the ambition is a bit big. Zephyr swallowed dryly. He originally thought that Corazon's establishment of an empire was just for fun, but now it seems that he is serious. Mr. Zephyr, can we escape? Aokiji asked in a dull tone. Quote. Zephyr turned his head stiffly, looked at Natsu who was happily eating fire behind him, the corner of his mouth twitched, and let the demon of flame guard them. Should. Can be. Probably. Chapter 68. Art is an explosion, 3rd update. Advertisement. Chapter 68. Art is an explosion, 3rd update. Natsu, don't just play around, keep an eye on these two guys, don't let them escape. Corazon descended from the sky, looking at Natsu who sang and danced with Killer Bee and could not help himself, black lines appeared on his face. It's such a joy to have two out of the ordinary people get together. Okay, Your Majesty, we will definitely keep an eye on him, Yesyasis. These two idiots, bastards, will definitely not escape our hands, don't worry, Dao. Naz and Killer Bee sang together, and Corazon couldn't help but cover his head. Forget it, as long as you are happy. Shaking his head, Corazon didn't bother to reprimand them. Anyway, Natsu and Killer Bee, a flame demon, and an 8-tails Jinchuriki, completely restrained Zephyr and Aokiji, so there was no need to worry about them escaping. Shao organizes to go with me, absolutely, don't forget what I asked you to prepare before. Corazon grows 2 flame wings from behind, and warned. From the side of the tree, a tree with 2 Nepenthes leaves slowly walked out, and said excitedly 16. Your Majesty, with the cooperation of 9-tails Jinchuriki, everything is ready. That's good. Corazon hooked his mouth, flapped his wings, and stood on top of a huge white clay dragon. Masters, move forward. Oh, the members of the Shao organization responded, and the white clay dragon waved its wings, bringing up gusts of wind, and headed towards the sea area ahead at an extremely fast speed. Wong, is it possible that the front is the gathering place of Germa 66 you mentioned? After a few hours, Orochimaru's snake eyes stood upright, and he said in a hoarse voice, with excitement on his face. There is Kai Katsuyu walking on the sea, the body cannot match, is it natural or artificial breeding? Sarah, who knows? The corners of Corazon's mouth curled up, Rinnegan's eyes turned slightly, and the distant scene was all in his eyes. It was a kingdom on the sea. Its land area was not very large, but it was extremely neat. The sharp tips of the houses and the gloomy colors made it look extremely serious and cold. Would ordinary people really live in that kind of place? Hey, Brother Scorpion. Deidara asked suspiciously. Shut up. Xie scolded coldly, his basement was similar to the atmosphere of this kingdom. Blue. Brew. Unidentified found. Unidentified found. Just as Corazon was approaching Germa 66, he was flying in midair and far away, shrouded in it. This is the war house. The phone bug on the other side connected, his voice was full of coldness. Master number 3, an unknown organism has been found not far from the war house. The surveillance personnel's voice was indifferent, and there was no trace of emotion in their tone. Unidentified guy, send the video over here, and if you find anything unusual, attack immediately. The man named number 3 ordered with a cold gaze. Advertisement. Yes. Germa 66, in the war house, clone number 3 is watching the video sent by his subordinates just now. In the video, 7 or 8 men are wearing red cloud robes with black backgrounds. A member of the Red Cloud Robe organization. Because the Akatsuki organization became famous in the first battle recently, Germa 66 also updated the information, knowing the clothes worn by the members of the organization. The matter is a bit serious, and I need to report to His Majesty the King. The number 3 clone's gaze was indifferent. As the top 3 clones, he knew that he couldn't solve this matter. Blue. When the clone number 3 dialed the phone bug, the clone in charge of surveillance outside noticed the white giant dragon descending slowly, and raised his gun to shoot without hesitation, not caring whether he could defeat the giant dragon at all. All of them, shoot. Clap clap. The sound of dense guns and guns sounded, and the firearms instantly entered a white-hot state. Thousands of clones fired at the same time, and the bullets fired in an instant exceeded 100,000. Pain. Yes. Corazon said something indifferently. Tiandao Pain respectfully responded, and stretched out his hand. Those bullets seemed to spread to an invisible wall, jingling in the sky and crashing into the sea. Seeing this scene, normal soldiers should know that they are not opponents, so they give up attacking, but those soldiers are different, they turn a deaf ear to what is happening in the sky, and instead take out more powerful lethal weapons. Cannonball Preparation 32. Deidara, those guys want to challenge your art, go teach them what art is. Corazon said with a smile. Many, my lord, some ordinary people also want to challenge my art in vain. I want to let them know that art is a kind of instant enthusiasm that emerges from cold feelings. Deidara seemed to be admitted yes, he said loudly, spreading his hands wildly. Idiot, the eternal beauty of art is art. Xie said coldly. Well, Brother Scorpion, although I respect you very much as a creator, art is beautiful and short-lived, and it is called beautiful when it disappears, Deidara said loudly. Deidara, you be asterisk 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 D, are you trying to p asterisk asterisk s me off? Seeing that the scorpion was going to explode in anger, Deidara shut up, and members of the Shao organization left the dragon's back one after another. The artist is always alone. Deidara sighed and shook his head, then turned into a frenzy, spreading his hands and letting the dragon plummet, laughing loudly. A bunch of idiots, what are your bombs? Look at this smooth line, and this perfect two-dimensional shape. Well, this is art, and my art is more than that. It sublimated in the explosion, is my real work. Only in that momentary sublimation can I feel art. Well, art is explosive. The moment the white dragon roared and touched the edge of the war house, Deidara put both fingers on his chest, and shouted with fanaticism in his eyes. Art is all about explosions. Drink. Boom. The dazzling fire swept through all the surrounding buildings, forcibly destroying the war house on the back of Kaikatsuyu, and turning the number 3 clone who was dialing the phone bug into ashes. Chapter 69 5000 White Zetsu, Wood-Style Multi-Spore Technique, 4th More. Advertisement. Chapter 69 5000 White Zetsu, Wood-Style Multiple Spore Technique, 4th More. Wong, this city feels more indifferent to me than my laboratory, is it because they are all clones? Orochimaru showed an interested expression. He has also done gene cloning technology, and even achieved extremely high achievements in this area, so when he came to this city, he immediately felt that something was wrong. That's right, it's all cloning technology, and it's stronger than yours. After Corazon finished speaking plainly, he continued to move forward. This island gave Corazon the feeling that he had entered a modern society. There were all kinds of high-tech devices, and a big, 6 feet was written on every building. Character. The pedestrians on the island, everyone is in a hurry, even if they see strangers like them, they will never say a word. Clone technology stronger than mine. Orochimaru stuck out his long tongue, licked his lips, and quickly followed Corazon's footsteps. Itachi, where is their technology center? Corazon glanced at the surrounding scene, and said lightly, the purpose of his coming here is to clone technology. With the cloning technology of this world plus Orochimaru's research results in wood-style, a large number of clone soldiers can be cultivated in a short period of time. Although these clone soldiers are not expected to fight, it is also a good choice to protect the safety of the kingdom in a short period of time. The most important thing is that it can be judged by the system. Uchiha Itachi's blood-red Sharingan turned and stared at a passing resident. Let me ask you, where is the most important technology center in this kingdom? The soldier controlled by Uchiha Itachi's illusion was stunned, and said with blank eyes, the technology center is in the basement of the king's castle, and it is the most important place for our Germa 66. At this moment, harsh sirens sounded from both sides of the street. Originally, the residents who were as indifferent as robots suddenly felt as if they had been electrocuted, their eyes turned vigilant and looked around, and finally turned their eyes to Corazon and his group. Enemy, catch him. The surrounding residents rushed over waving their fists as if desperate for their lives. It is worth mentioning that there were no women, old people or children among the surrounding residents, and all of them were strong men. The guy who is not afraid of death, if it is not because of his strong body, there is no need for cloning at all. Orochimaru said in a disdainful tone. Although he did not have a large-scale cloning of human beings, he simply looked down on cloning human beings who are only genetically cultivated. The Hokage world is eligible for him to clone, only blood successor limit. Then how about you stay here and deal with them? Corazon frowned and asked with a smile. Ahem, Wong, it's better for me to follow you to the Science and Technology Center. Otherwise, let Deidara and the others go there. I don't worry, just leave this kind of thing to Hidan and Kakuzu. Orochimaru laughed dryly. Although he didn't like these clones, he was very interested in the so-called Technology Center. Advertisement. Corazon smiled slightly, and stopped teasing Orochimaru, turned his head and said. Hidan Kakuzu, you two stay here and kill all the enemies for me, don't show mercy. Hidan's eyes lit up, he licked his lips, and asked excitedly, Your Majesty, can I sacrifice all these guys to Lord Evil God? Well, let's see if you can grab it. Then, under Hidan's puzzled eyes, Corazon turned his head, looked at White Zetsu and nodded slightly. Jesus, take out the things I asked you to prepare. Ju's figure emerged from the ground, and he nodded excitedly. Compared to the number of people, the Akatsuki organization will not be weaker than anyone. Corazon's mouth showed a smile. If the anime world is not afraid of crowd tactics, then only Hokage. Corazon with the nine-tailed beast's Jinchuriki, together with White Zetsu and a phase wood style, the result is wood style multiple spore technique. The corner of Ju's mouth evoked excitement, and a playful look appeared on Uzumaki White Zetsu's face. Woo, whoosh, whoosh. With Ju's seal, the body gradually merged into the ground, splitting and spreading, just like the reproduction of inorganic matter. Boom. The whole war house began to shake, and King Judge, who was in the center of Germa 66, looked at the ground under his feet with a gloomy face, and frowned tightly. What happened? Judge pushed open the window in annoyance. He had clearly been researching lately and didn't offend anyone who would come to provoke him at this time. 1. Come out. 5000 White Zetsu. A smile appeared on the corner of Corazon's mouth, and his deep voice instantly resounded throughout the island. Boom. The ground under Corazon's feet was like a fountain, and a white torrent spewed out. Among the tree roots on the opposite side, countless kuhue crawled out like ants. Chick, chick. The moment White Zetsu climbed out, his hands turned into sharp wooden thorns, and the wooden thorns quickly pierced the hearts of 2 Germa residents. Pung, pung. Caught off guard, thousands of residents of Germa 66 were beheaded by the White Zetsu that suddenly emerged from the ground. These monsters are not afraid of blunt weapon blows, hurry up and take out your weapons. A resident with his heart pierced, but still nonchalantly grabbed White Zetsu's arm, shouted. The surrounding residents immediately dispersed like birds and beasts, and Judge also saw the appearance of Corazon, Zhao Dahao, and the others clearly, and his expression changed greatly. Empire. How is it possible? How did they come here? Could it be that my plan was discovered? Thinking of the consequences of the plan being discovered, Judge panicked and ran outside, shouting loudly. Everyone, don't run away, let me get rid of them all, even if you are all dead, it doesn't matter. After the voice fell, the residents running around who wanted to get weapons turned their heads one after another, and hugged White Zetsu with their hands with all their strength, preventing them from running to other war houses. Survive with a broken arm, use it. There was a hint of sarcasm in Corazon's eyes. With his hands behind his back, he galloped away at a high speed, and after just a few jumps, he came to the center of Germa 66. Chapter 70. The Inferior Demon Created, 5th Change. Advertisement. Chapter 70. The Inferior Demon Created, 5th Change. Your Majesty, do you want me to demonstrate the beauty of my art here? Scorpion looked at the soldiers around him, and couldn't help but want to show his eternal beauty. Didera and Xie are really a pair of CPs, no one wants to weaken the other. Corazon muttered something in his heart, then shook his head and said, I'll let you do it later. Yes, Scorpion agreed with some disappointment. Fighting here, Corazon was worried about the impact on the so-called technology center, so he didn't stay at the moment, so he walked towards the center of the island. Uchiha Itachi didn't speak to Corazon, raised his head, and 3 Tomo Sharingan appeared in front of those clones in an instant. Buzz. There was a buzzing sound in the brain, and the eyes of 70 or 80 clone soldiers froze instantly. Except for one clone, all of them wiped their necks with a knife. Master Zero, please follow me. The remaining clone respectfully knelt on the ground. Even if Uchiha Itachi told the clone to die now, the clone would not say a word. So, the army of 493 Germa 66 is simply the enemy's nightmare. No wonder there is the title of Evil Army. There was a trace of exclamation on Corazon's face. No wonder this kind of human cloning is a technology that every force wants to obtain. Master Zero, this is our science and technology center, but it is heavily guarded recently, please let me report it. The clone soldier brought Corazon and his party to a huge science and technology factory with the word 66 written on it. Walls and gates made of steel, all kinds of researchers wearing Germa 66 research uniforms, shuttle among them non-stop. In this technology factory, there is a surveillance phone bug every 3 meters, and there are other means, it's really not easy. Orochimaru's eyes scanned back and forth on the surface of the building, his eyes were full of excitement. Well, it's none of your business here. Corazon let the clone go away, looked at the steel wall, put his left hand on it, a hot flame started to burn along the wall, almost 3 meters thick steel wall was burned through in just an instant. Weng, BGBH. In the technology factory, the 2 tentacles monitoring the phone bug swayed twice, and the constantly shaking eyes instantly focused on Corazon, and the eyes turned red, and at the same time, an alarm sounded in the technology factory. What's going on? Is there an intruder? In the factory, hundreds of soldiers wearing combat uniforms stepped on scientific shoes and jumped over quickly. The guns in their hands were extremely modern. One of the leading men had a scar on his face and his eyes were serious. Look in the hot direction. Are Germa's guards so strict? It's really troublesome. Corazon curled his lips helplessly, stepped over the steel wall and entered the interior of Liguang. Itachi-kun, I leave this place to you. Corazon waved his hand and said. Yes, advertisement. Uchiha Itachi responded respectfully, and then Mangekyo Sharingan turned wildly, a trace of blood slid down his cheek. Illusion Narakumi technique. Uchiha Itachi looked up at the soldiers pouring out. Sharingan's illusion ability was activated. Not only the clone soldiers, even the huge snail phone bug began to fall asleep. After doing all this, Uchiha Itachi's figure flashed and stood on a nearby electric pole. As long as someone came over, he would never escape Uchiha Itachi's eyes. Is this the technology factory of Germa 66? It's really unimaginable black technology. Corazon, Orochimaru and others walked into the technology factory, looking at the guns and ammunition being continuously produced on the weapon production line, as well as the small laboratory near the weapon production line. Your Majesty, these weapons are nothing, look over there. Orochimaru's eyes showed fanaticism, and he pointed his fingers at a large laboratory. Quick, inject 5,000 milliliters of nutrient solution, this guy is going to go berserk. In a laboratory, dozens of researchers' eyes were frenzied, and they looked at the front with excitement. They had double horns and black wings, like demons. Ordinary berserk creatures, and a gray-haired old man are constantly correcting the data. That is, Corazon raised his eyebrows in surprise, kicked the glass of the laboratory and walked in. The 5,000 milliliters of nutrient solution was exhausted in an instant. Hurry up and put in all our nutrient solution. I want to see how edible this guy is. Another researcher quickly put the nutrient solution into the tube was brought over, with a hint of excitement on his face, he said. It's too late, Lycata, get out of here quickly, and inform Lord Judge, this guy has gone berserk. The gray-haired old man yelled loudly and limped to the outside. Crack. Following the old man's voice, the demon in the nutrient solution roared, smashed the glass jar of nutrient solution in front of him with a punch, and rushed out. You, who are you? Why haven't I seen you? The old researcher ran to the door, only then did he see the blonde-haired Corazon, and asked in surprise. Corazon glanced at him indifferently, lifted his neck and threw it directly at Orochimaru. This guy seems to know a lot of things, you should study it. Yes. Orochimaru excitedly grabbed the old man researcher, opened his mouth wide like a giant python, and swallowed the old man directly. What the hell is this? Corazon looked at the demon in doubt, his hands were burning with flames, and he grabbed the demon's shoulder. Brilliant. The violent flames instantly burned the demon to nothingness, and the eyes of the surrounding researchers almost popped out. They had worked so hard to study the demon for 2 or 3 years, and their combat power was even comparable to that of a big pirate. So they were burned to ashes. Judge that B****************, D, when did you get the demon blood? Casually scattered the ashes in his hand, Corazon curled his lips. This demon should have been created through the blood of the gate of Hades, although the appearance is very similar, but the strength is very different. Orochimaru, subdue them all, and you will lead them from now on. Corazon clapped his hands and walked deeper into the research factory. Orochimaru responded respectfully, then stretched his neck, leaving a mark on each researcher's neck. His eyes were full of excitement. Chapter 71. Red Secret Technique 100 Machine Exercises First Update. Advertisement. Chapter 71 Red Secret Skills and 100 Machines Practice First Update. Chick. At this time, in Germa 66's arsenal, several figures quickly appeared, including Corazon and Didera Scorpion and others. Pung. In the huge arsenal, one after another full of high-tech devices are operating rapidly, and on this production line, what is produced is not any technological weapons, but human beings. Da. Rows of human beings were locked in the glass tanks that transported nutrient solution. Seeing the rows of clones in front of them, Corazon frowned slightly. Wong, I have found out that the clones produced in the past year more or less carry the devil's gene. It used to take 5 years for cloning, but now it only takes less than a year. Orochimaru walked out the door. Come on, introduced hoarsely. Does Judge really want to think that the genes of demons are the same as those of ordinary animals? He is also one of the top researchers in the world. Corazon showed a playful look at the corner of his mouth. To be precise, a demon is not a creature, but a collection of powers. Although it can also be replicated through genes, it has an extremely huge loophole, that is. Kneel down. Corazon's eyes turned cold, a trace of fiery red lines spread on his body, and the burning demon flame seemed to be the gathering of all darkness. The clone in the nutrition tank was originally just a piece of blank paper, but at this moment, he couldn't help but kneel on the ground. Clones that are inferior to low-level demons. Corazon waved his hand, pointed at the soldiers in the research institute, and said, give them all to me. Immediately, the clones in the glass tank smashed the glass one after another, with strange lines on their bodies, and attacked the soldiers. All the soldiers of Germa have been transformed and cloned, and they have the characteristics of fearlessness and absolute obedience. From this, the new Germa 66 army that makes the world fearful is formed. But at this moment, these soldiers have not yet been brainwashed, and they can't see the obedience brought about by genes at all. Orochimaru just glanced at the fighting scene, didn't care, turned his head and said. Wong, this technology center is divided into 2 factories. The factory we are in is the place where soldiers are produced, and the other factory is where soldiers are instilled with knowledge. With the technology I have now, it is not a problem to reverse their knowledge. Well, then go and rewrite the knowledge in the minds of these clones. Corazon nodded and said. He doesn't need any clones who are loyal to Germa 66, all he needs are clones who are absolutely loyal to him. What is this place? Corazon continued to walk forward, looking at the babies in a pile of nutrition tanks, and asked with a slight frown. This is the place to study super soldiers. Orochimaru glanced at the building with the number 66 written in front of him, and said. After devouring several researchers, by then I have mastered all the information in this technology factory. Super fighters, are they Sanji? Luo Ming showed a curious look on his face, and slowly walked towards the number 66 laboratory. Add the number 1 armor directly to the baby. As soon as he entered the number 66 laboratory, Corazon saw a group of researchers in white coats directing the assistants to work. Ho King, this is Judge's assistant, Dr. Ropak, who should be researching the technology of implanting genes into newborns to turn them into super soldiers. Orochimaru said with a hoarse smile. Kai. On the experimental platform, a baby cried and waved his arms, and the powerful force brought up gusts of wind. Boom. A piece of steel wall in the distance was instantly smashed into powder. Advertisement. Successful. The bloodline has successfully fused with the devil's cells. As long as this baby grows up, it will be the coldest and most ruthless killing machine. Dr. Ropach danced excitedly, as if he was too excited to speak up. Natsu, that idiot. Corazon smiled helplessly. How could the flame demon end, which is Natsu's gene, be obtained by Germa? Orochimaru, show me that baby, take it back later, let Naz feel what it means to be a happy father. Corazon said with a smirk. Yes. The conversation between Corazon and Orochimaru stunned Dr. Ropak for a moment. He turned his head stiffly, and when he realized that Corazon was not from the technology center, he directly grabbed the bazooka on the side. Thousands of puppet arts. Scorpion made a deep voice, raised his right hand, and pierced the rocket launcher that was about to be fired like a streamer. Boom, boom, boom. Explosions of flames appeared in the technology center, and the chinbin released by the scorpion accurately pierced the shells in the bazooka. Not much, not much. Ask for flowers. Ah, Senior Scorpion, this place cannot be destroyed. Ah Fei jumped up in a hurry, clapping his hands on the ground. Wood-style 4-pillar prison. Stay dumb. 4 thick logs stood in front of the fire, easily blocking the power of the rocket launcher. What? Dr. Ropak showed a look of shock on his face. The bazooka he researched is even more advanced than Marines. Even some famous pirates must be cautious when facing them. Unlike the enemy in front of him, he dispelled his own attack lightly. Puppet art needles at the back of the tail. Scorpion shouted. A steel tail stretched out instantly, the tip of the tail was extremely sharp, and drops of venom dripped down quickly. Hey! With a soft sound, the steel tail easily pierced Dr. Ropak's chest, and then, under the shocked eyes of nearby researchers, lifted Dr. Ropak's body into the air. Your Majesty, can I kill the guys outside and inside now? Xie asked excitedly. Large-scale damage cannot be done in the Research Institute, and Deidara's ability cannot be used. Will his eternal art come in handy at this time? Well, yes. Corazon nodded lightly. Those researchers may still be useful, but he doesn't need any of the soldiers of Germa 66. Soldier of the MH type, give it to me. Looking at Dr. Ropak who was killed, the researchers of 4 weeks became terrified and waved their right hands desperately. Some clone soldiers who had just undergone brainwashing came over. Human C tactics. What I'm least afraid of, is human C tactics. Scorpion's deep voice filled the hearts of those researchers with uneasiness. Saw, let you guys see it. The eternal beauty of art. A heavy voice sounded, and Xie took out a scroll from behind. Red secret technique with hundreds of machines. Xie snorted, and the entire sky was surrounded by humanoid puppets. Behind these puppets, blue chakra threads gathered in Filiuhu's mouth. The chakra threads were invisible to the naked eye, only those with special ability to be able to see loss. Chapter 72 Occupying Germa 66 Second More. Advertisement. Chapter 72 Occupying Germa 66 Second Update. What is this? Judge hurriedly came to the entrance of the Science and Technology Center. Before entering, he saw a doll-like puppet rushing out of the window of the Science and Technology Center. He was dumbfounded at the time. It is densely packed and dressed in red clothes. If you don't know it, you may think it is a ghost that has revived. Deidara, have you seen it? This is eternal beauty. The beauty that will not be lost with the passage of time. How can ephemeral art be compared with eternity? Scorpion's fanatical voice, as if a believer has seen his own belief. Your Majesty, Brother Scorpion has gone crazy. Deidara said with a twitching corner of his mouth. Well, you drove me crazy. Corazon walked out of the factory and nodded. 283, I did it. Deidara's eyes widened. Nonsense. Corazon curled his lips. From the beginning of the kingdom of Deris Rosa, Deidara has been showing the limelight and promoting the art of explosions. This guy has not been made into a human puppet for so long. It can only be said that he has a lot of life. Attack. However, Scorpion would not show mercy. With a command, all kinds of mechanisms on hundreds of puppets were opened. Swoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The human puppet's body is equipped with all kinds of ninja tools, such as countless kunai, shuriken, senbon, fuma shuriken and other ninja tools. Whether it is a soldier inside the technology factory or a soldier outside the technology factory did not let go. Judge was short of breath, and watched those puppets helplessly. His figure was extremely strange, and he killed clone soldiers one after another. Finally, he couldn't bear it anymore, covered his body with armor, let out a roar, and charged forward with a spear. Sky. Your Majesty, that is. Deidara looked at Judge in surprise. This strange flight was faster than his white lovebird. Judge, King of Germa 66, but with a good daughter. Corazon raised his eyebrows, and ran up to the sky a few steps. The demon wings behind him were blazing, aimed at Judge's head, and kicked it. Don't come in the way. Judge roared, holding a 3 to 4 meter long spear in his hand. A trace of lightning arc flashed on it, and stabbed at Corazon. He really doesn't know the situation. Crack. Flaming feet, but Corazon possessed the devil's fire, not to mention steel. Even a mountain can be burned to the ground. Kicked the spear off with one kick, and under Judge's unbelievable eyes, he stepped heavily on him face. Boom. Severe pain came from Judge's head, and he couldn't help screaming, hitting the ground like a meteorite. As expected of a king, it's so cool. Adoration flashed in Fei's eyes. He gave a thumbs up excitedly, and jumped up and down excitedly. Well, it's so. Corazon descended slowly from the sky, and glanced at Fei helplessly. Advertisement. Uchiha Obito's nature. Guys from the Akatsuki organization, die for me. Regardless of the disfigured face, Judge roared angrily, stretched out his hands and grabbed Corazon. The lightning in his hands was enough to shock a big pirate with electricity. I really don't have a long memory. Corazon glanced at him indifferently, and stepped on Judge's head. The lightning that was enough to shock people had no effect on Corazon's body, and the devil's physique was enough to ignore all of this. Damn it, I have never offended your Shao organization, and the army you sent out last time was also destroyed by you. What kind of grudge do you have? Judge roared angrily. Looking at the technology factory gradually being occupied in the distance, his heart bleeds. That was the capital he wanted to fight back to North Blue. The kingdom he had spent more than 10 years building was now completely destroyed. There is no enmity, no resentment, it's just a simple war and conquest. War never needs any reason. Corazon said lightly, just as Germa 66 attacked other countries to gain wealth, he attacked Germa 66 only for wealth and knowledge. Scorpion, don't play around, after finishing these guys, I will leave the corpses to you. Corazon turned his head and urged. Scorpion's eyes lit up, there are so many corpses, how many human puppets will be made? Fire-style flowing fire. The arms of some human puppets were lifted, and streams of kerosene were released instantly, enveloping most of the clone soldiers in flames. Very poisonous fog. The human puppet specially used to release poisonous gas sprayed out clouds of poisonous mist from the joints of its body. These poisonous mist were carefully developed by the red sand scorpion. As long as they inhaled a little, they would fall into death. Put on your gas mask. A clone soldier shouted loudly, but it was too late. Even with a gas mask, the scorpion's puppet killing skills will not be weakened in the slightest. Boom, boom, boom. Just one round of attacks by the human puppets, most of the thousands of clone soldiers who came to support fell to the ground. The entire battlefield seemed to have been bombed, and even the sea Katsuyu under his feet trembled slightly. I hate waiting for others, and I don't like being waited for by others. I will solve you with one trick. Seeing the hundreds of clone soldiers remaining on the field, Scorpion's eyes were icy cold, and the 10 chakra lines on his fingers were connected to the puppet of third cage. Magnet-style sand and iron world law. Countless iron sand emanated from the puppet's body, gradually forming an all-shaped iron sand block, and another cylindrical iron 3.7 sand block, which almost blocked the sun's sunlight. Two huge iron sand stones collided suddenly in the sky, and the sharp iron sand spikes instantly pierced the bodies of hundreds of clone soldiers. Your Majesty, there is no longer any force that can resist on the entire island. Scorpion said excitedly, half kneeling on the ground after killing those clone soldiers. Corazon nodded slightly, glanced at the judge under his feet, and kicked it to Orochimaru's feet. I leave it to you, occupy this place within 3 days. Orochimaru licked his lips evilly, agreed respectfully, and swallowed judge in one gulp. Don't worry, King, 3 days is enough for me to spawn a batch of clones, and it will not be a problem to control this kingdom. Chapter 73. Kisami's Brother, 3rd. Advertisement. Chapter 73 Kisami's Brother, 3rd Update. Your Majesty, through their facilities and Woodstyle's vitality, I have spawned a total of 3,000 soldiers in the past few days, and I have basically controlled this maritime kingdom. Orochimaru walked over excitedly, pointing to the clone soldiers on the Germa 66 kingdom. I can feel it. Corazon nodded slightly. The fusion of Woodstyle and Devil cells is dozens of times stronger than the normal army of Germa 66 before. Just thinking about it, Corazon couldn't help getting excited. In just 3 days, 3,000 soldiers can be spawned, and in 10 days, 10,000 soldiers can be spawned. If this continues, it won't be long before the A-level forces can be summoned again. At that time, he must go to the Fishmen Island to see what kind of abilities they have. They dared to actively assist Marine's side when he was fighting with Marine. If it weren't for those Murlocs, in the last battle, none of the Marines can run away. How is Judge, does he cooperate? Corazon seemed to think of something, turned his head and asked. Judge is one of the top 16 researchers in the world. Although his personality is cold and ruthless, and he can even transform his own son, there is no doubt about his technology. Whether it is the blood factor or the technology of transforming people, Corazon wants to master. Well, Ju captured his wife, that woman is pregnant, Judge can only obey us. Orochimaru licked his lips excitedly. Your Majesty, the devil fruits in this world have amazing abilities. They can even grasp a person's appearance, body, and even abilities out of thin air. Can you study this? Orochimaru asked hesitantly. It's up to you. Corazon casually said that he doesn't care too much about the power of devil fruit, it doesn't matter if it has it or not. What really caught his attention was the awakening of devil fruit. Such as the awakening of Doflamingo string fruit, which can turn the surrounding things into threads, and can turn things such as the ground, houses or rocks into silk threads. Let the big emperor silk threads like waves strike. Against sin. Charlotte Categories, waxy fruit, which can turn the surrounding things into waxy substances, can turn the ground, houses, rocks and other things into waxy pulp, and let a large amount of glutinous pulp like waves bind opponents. But these are not what Corazon cares about. What Corazon cares about is the awakening of Logia devil fruit, such as Aokiji and Akainu. In the future, devil fruit will be successfully awakened, ice and magma, and even have the power to control the sky. As a result, an island was transformed into a world of ice and magma. All this is due to the scientists of naval headquarters in the world government, who are 500 years ahead of today's technology, and are known as Vegapunk, a scientist who has surpassed human wisdom for 500 years. Thinking of this, Corazon slowly revealed an excited smile. Absolutely, I will go to naval headquarters with me later, and tie someone back. Yes. On the ground, Ju's figure appeared, and he responded respectfully. Suddenly, Uchiha Itachi, who was standing guard on a utility pole, looked cold, and Mangekyo Sharingan looked towards the sea. Ghost Shark, go down and have a look. There is movement, Kisame, I saw your kind below, is it your half-brother? Advertisement. The binoculars in Deidara's eyes twisted to see the hundreds of Murlocs below the ocean clearly, and he couldn't help laughing, teasing Kisame. Last time they were also stunned by those Murlocs. Although they knew that they were not of the same race, they looked too much alike. Deidara, do you want to die? Kisame's face turned black. Since seeing the Murloc last time, he was so depressed that he couldn't speak for a long time, but this time he was ridiculed again. He was just a gene mobilized, not a real Murloc. Corazon couldn't help showing a smile, and said with a smile, Kisame, there are mermaids in there, let's see if there is anything you like. Puff. Guixie almost spat out a mouthful of blood, but even Zun Wang said that. Depressed until a few minutes later, Kisame jumped into the water with a dark face. With Kisame's water quality, he was even more flexible in seawater than on land. Brother Tiger, look, that's the Murloc ghost shark I told you about. With a short thick black beard on his chin, and a lightning-like scar on the corner of his left eye, Jinbei, who is fat and has two big teeth in his lower jaw, saw Kisame who had just entered the water at a glance. Murloc, why don't I know this guy? The Murloc tiger, who was covered in red and had thick curly hair, hugged him with both hands, and asked with a frown. Whoever he is, as long as we sink this maritime kingdom into the sea, the world government will recognize our qualifications to live on land. Who dares to stop him? We must kill him. Murloc Arlong's eyes were full of murderous intent. Yes, whoever dares to stop him must be killed. Hundreds of Murlocs looked wildly, raised their knives and forks, and shouted excitedly. Well, seeing this scene, Jinbei secretly sighed. The entire Fishman Island has been brainwashed by the conditions promised by the world government, 150 although it is their lifelong dream to live on land. However, there is only one thing that can make the world government promise such a condition, and that is that the enemy is so strong that the world government has no choice but to seek foreign aid. In this case, are they really the opponents of that empire? There were many twists and turns in his heart, but Jinbei still swam quickly in the sea, blocking the ghost shark, and said sincerely. Brother Kisame, although I don't know where you were born, there is no way to get rid of the fact that you are a Murloc. Since you are both Murlocs, why kill each other? Corazon, who walked to the sea, heard this scene and couldn't hold back, laughs out loud. Brother Guishui, ha 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 ha, Brother Guishui, hurry up and go with this Murloc, maybe you can get a mermaid wife, ha ha ha. Deidara laughed until tears came out, and slapped off the two of them laughed. Hidan laughed so hard that he hugged Kakuzu, his body trembling non-stop. The serious Kisame still has such embarrassing moments. Guixie took a deep breath and quickly formed a seal in the sea water. All of you will be drowned by the water. Ghost Shark roared angrily. Water-style 1,000 food dumplings. Chapter 74. The Burning Sea, 4th. Advertisement. Chapter 74. The Burning Sea, 4th change. Wow, Kisame is angry. Ah-Fei looked at the shark that was biting him, screamed, and ran quickly on the sea. Stupid, who made you laugh so loudly? Deidara flew proudly in the sky, making Kisame's face darken, and you're the one who laughs the loudest, okay. When Kisame and Deidara were fighting, the expressions of those Murlocs changed instantly, and they looked at the thousands of sharks in horror. Brother Tai, this shark seems to be a real shark. Arlong swallowed a mouthful of saliva, his voice trembling. Normally speaking, the Murlocs are the overlords underwater, and sharks dare not approach them at all. But, there are thousands of sharks around. Don't be afraid, I am your clansman, follow my orders, get out of here quickly. Relying on his identity as a shark clansman, Arlong swallowed dryly, forced a smile, and wanted to touch those sharks. Roar. Who called those sharks, roared, opened their bloody mouths, and bit down, and suddenly a bloodline appeared in the center of the sea, and gradually dispersed. Brother Tiger, my hand was bitten off by them, hurry up, kill them quickly. Arlong held his arm bitten off by the shark and screamed in pain. It's not a shark. Tiger took a breath, and took 2 steps back in disbelief. These are all sea water, but they've turned into sharks. Could it be possible that these thousands of sharks were all created by Kisame? What kind of Murloc is he? Jinbei was completely shocked when he heard this. They Murlocs are the favorite of the sea, they can soar in the sea and control the water flow. But even so, they have never seen this kind of ability. Not to mention the ability to control the water flow, they can even turn the sea water into sharks out of thin air. Compared with Kisame, they are simply abandoned by the sea. Saw, cuties, bite off his throat for me. Hearing the conversation between Murlocs, Kisame's eyes glowed with anger. Murlocs, he is a serious person, okay. Roar. Thousands of sharks heard Guix's words, roared, exposed their sharp fangs, swam frantically, and bit. The Murloc tiger was completely shocked this time. Before he had time to resist, he roared loudly to the back. Run, get out of here. They originally planned to sneak attack on Germa 66 and silence the Sea Kingdom in the sea, but seeing that Kisame could create such a powerful attack by himself, they no longer expected to complete the task. It is a blessing to be able to escape alive in the hands of these strong men. You guys, let me die. Kisame, who was extremely angry, was filled with murderous intent when he saw these Murlocs. He grabbed Samahata from behind, and his body merged strangely, turning into a shark man. It's actually a shark tribe, but how can a shark tribe have this ability? Tiger's eyes widened, and he couldn't imagine why the shark tribe could control the deformation of water. Go to hell. The enraged ghost shark, at an extremely fast speed, passed one Murloc after another, beheading them in the seawater minister. Ahem. Deidara held back a smile, turned to look at Hidan and said, Hidan, you said that Kisame looks like this, and that he is not a Murloc, who would believe it? Advertisement. That's right, maybe combining with a mermaid can give birth to a little mermaid. Hidan nodded, his face full of approval. Kisame will look for you desperately later, don't beg me. Kakuzu said flatly. Corazon was all smiles, and after looking at it for a while, he couldn't help shouting into the sea to let Kisame come up. Although Kisami's speed is very fast, it is still not as good as those powerful Murlocs. If this continues, everyone will run away without a trace. Your Majesty, sooner or later I will exterminate this race. Guixie crawled out of the water with a look of resentment. Suppressing a smile, Corazon stretched out his palm, and the violent demon fire burned in his hand, and the Rinnegan in his eyes kept turning. Since we can't catch up with you, let's evaporate this ocean. Corazon's voice fell, the flame in his hand became hotter and hotter, and the surrounding water made a squeaky sound and was gradually evaporated. The power of the king. Orochimaru's complexion changed in the war room, and he roared loudly at the newly created clone. Run away quickly, the tsunami is coming. Brilliant. The sea area below Corazon, as if hit by a meteorite, gradually sank, revealing a huge deep pit, and the violent flames were mercilessly evaporated before the seawater surged up. Hey, it's not good, it's not good. Deidara looked at Corazon, who combined repulsion and flame, took a deep breath, turned around and was about to run, but was caught by Kakuzu's wings. If you want to run at this time, are you human? Hidan cursed, and quickly jumped onto the white lovebird where Deidara was, followed by Scorpion, Conan, Kisame, and a group of people quickly ran away. It wasn't until the white lovebirds walked away that Corazon's eyes slowly turned to the sea surface, and Rinnegan could clearly see that the Murlocs had sunk to a position 1,000 meters above the sea surface. I can't escape. Bang fist of the demon of flame. Shenluo Tianzhong. Corazon let out a low growl, and punched the surface of the sea with a fist. Immediately, there was a wave of ripples on the surface of the sea, and then violent flames rushed into the center of the sea. The scorching flames didn't even have a chance for the seawater to fluctuate, and it was evaporated in an instant. The repulsive force pushed the seawater away quickly, and the flame followed, burning all living things in the water. How is it possible? How is it possible for such a person to exist? Even Whitebeard can't attack us on the surface of thousands of meters of water. Jinbei glanced back and roared in disbelief. Run, monies. Tiger stopped and roared at the Murlocs behind him, manipulating countless water currents to resist the pool of flames. There was endless regret in his eyes. He regretted it. Why did he covet some small gains to fight against Corazon, an enemy that even the world government feared? How could he be able to be hostile? However, it was too late to kneel down and beg for mercy now. Tiger gritted his teeth and looked at the flames. All he could do now was to block the flames for a moment. However, at the next moment, Tiger's eyes widened, and he stretched out his hand in disbelief. The flames hadn't arrived yet, so what is this force? The powerful repulsive force instantly smashed a hole in Tiger's chest, breaking an unknown number of ribs, and the next moment the flames rushed over, burning Tiger's body to death. Murloc, it is enough to have mermaids. Glancing coldly at the sea area below, Corazon made up his mind that the mermaids can still be conquered by him, and the Murlocs don't need it. Chapter 75 Naval Headquarters Live Broadcast 5th. Advertisement. Chapter 75 Naval Headquarters Live Broadcast 5th Update. Blue. On the surface of the sea dozens of nautical miles away from the sea area where the naval headquarters is located, 3 huge ships appeared. These ships all had a name, Marine. Click. On a warship, wearing a cloak of justice, the Marine Rear Admiral Mole looked very ferocious, looking anxiously at the phone bug. Marshal Kong, it's too bad, I found a group of guys in black fire cloud robes approaching naval headquarters quickly. Mole said impatiently as soon as the phone bug was connected. Black fire cloud robe. Kong frowned instantly, and asked anxiously, Mole, are you sure you read it right? 3 months ago, Corazon led a group of people wearing black fire cloud robes to defeat the Kingdom of Germa, one of the countries that joined the world government. He did not know what ability he used to move the Kingdom of Germa back overnight. New World was originally the boundary of the Kingdom of Res Rosa. Originally, in order to delay for a while, Kong won the time for Marine to send troops, and he did not hesitate to spend a lot of money to get the world government to agree to the request of the Murlocs. When Marine arrived, there was only an empty sea in the 327. Even if Kong wants to go to the New World, the world government will not allow it. The threat of Corazon is too great, and Marine cannot bear such a terrible loss. After all, in addition to Corazon, there is also a large fleet of golden lions stalking the sea. Once 2 more Marine admirals are lost, the sea will be completely out of control. Marshal Kong, no, the target of those people is not the naval headquarters. When Kong was in deep thought, the mole's anxious voice interrupted Kong's meditation and reported. Not naval headquarters. Kong frowned instantly, stood up, and walked back and forth in the office. What is the purpose of Corazon? In this sea area, apart from naval headquarters, Eni's lobby, and Impel Down, there are no other islands at all. Damn, it's completely impenetrable. After thinking about it for a long time, Kong slammed his fist on the table hard. If it's other pirates, what they want to do, what purpose they have. Kong can guess one or two based on years of experience, but the purpose of Corazon this time can't be imagined by Kong Sheng. Could it be for demonstration? Sengoku frowned and said, then shook his head, denying his thoughts. According to intelligence, Zephyr was imprisoned in the original capital of the Deris Rosa Kingdom, and he was not even restricted in his actions. If he wanted to demonstrate, spreading the news of Zephyr's capture would cause much more sensation than this. Forget about this, Mole, you hurry back to naval headquarters, those guys are dangerous, very dangerous. After thinking about it for a long time, Kong sighed, then picked up the phone bug and said, even Zephyr is not the opponent's force, he is really afraid of making the mouse confused. Mole looked at the sky and swallowed dryly, then held the phone and said, Marshal Kong, I'm afraid I won't be able to go back, but I already guessed their purpose, it's Dr. Vegapunk's technology island, it's almost. Rory is so noisy, drink. Kong heard the mole's sound stop abruptly, replaced by a deafening explosion, and he clenched his palms tightly, his face full of anger. Advertisement. Although Mole is a hawkish marine who likes to kill, he is also an out-and-out excellent marine among marines. Being killed like this made Kong feel furious, but Kong had to suppress this emotion at the moment. Going down, he turned his head and shouted anxiously. Sengoku, call Garp, Pelusalino, Sakazuki, tell them to follow me quickly. Kong doesn't know how Corazon, BGAE, and others know about Vegapunk, but Vegapunk who has mastered the design diagram of life has the real ability to change the world. Even if 2 Marine Vice Admirals were killed today, Kong wouldn't let Vegapunk be snatched. However, Marine got the news too late, Corazon had Judge's information, and they arrived at the island where Vegapunk was held before them. Is this the most important place in Marine that you said? Morgans looked at the island in front of him with a bitter face. For the first time in my heart, I regretted why I was so famous. Are these guys, who came to grab naval headquarters, dead? That's right, this is Marine's most important technology island, live broadcast it for me, or I'll turn you into a roast chicken. Corazon said viciously. To promote the strength of the Empire, the fastest shortcut is of course to defeat powerful forces, and now Marine is the best choice. Yes, I got it. Now more than 300 islands in New World are broadcasting live, including the waters of Bikium and Whitebeard. They can all see it. Morse said with a bitter face. It's fine if he wins, but if he loses. Considering his crime of stealing information for so many years, Marine still didn't kill him. Corazon nodded slightly, and looked at Ju, go and capture Vegapunk first, and send it to the Empire first, and you won't be needed here. Ju's combat power is too poor, and Corazon is too lazy to let him waste time here. It is better to send Vegapunk back, just to let Orochimaru and him study how to quickly increase clones. Your Majesty, Marine is here. After leaving, Uchiha Itachi's eyes instantly looked at the 3 warships coming from Marine, and the Mangekyo Sharingan kept turning. Have you come? Sure enough, in the eyes of Marine and world government, Vegapunk is more important than Zephyr and Aokiji. Corazon hooked his lips, Kong, Sengoku, Garp. Seeing so many powerful enemies suddenly, Corazon was a little disappointed. The last time the army reached 100,000, the A-level force he summoned was UNEU Academy, which was comparable to the power of an island. Although the delicious food is good, its fighting power is no better than ordinary people. However, Corazon is looking forward to the next S-level power. The apex of gourmet food is only A-level, and S-level power must be a powerful group. For this, Vegapunk is essential. Itachi, back off first. After thinking for a while, Corazon waved his hand to make Uchiha Itachi and the others retreat, and the figure slowly flew into the sky under the control of gravity. Rinnegan turned and stared at the Marines who walked ashore. Chapter 76 Let the World Feel the Pain Part 1. Advertisement. Chapter 76 Let the World Feel the Pain Part 1. What is he going to do? Kong looked at Sengoku and asked with a frown. Marshal Kong, according to information from the surviving Murlocs near Germa 66, Corazon possesses a powerful repulsive force in addition to flames. This force directly smashed Tiger to pieces. Sengoku recalled the information I saw before, Shen Sheng said. What, Tiger is so dead? Kong frowned. Tiger, the strongest Murloc, is said to have mastered the use of armament hockey, but notify the fleet, let them get away from this island quickly. Kong took a deep breath, and let the Marine who had just landed on the island quickly withdraw to the ship. That Kong, to be afraid of such a brat, is he really old, ha 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 ha. On the Whitebeard pirate ship, Whitebeard laughed out loud, it was so funny to see his old foe give a kid a serious look. Father, this shows even more how dangerous the Corazon is. Even the Marines have to be serious. We must not be careless, said Marco the Whitebeard pirate phoenix solemnly. Although it was hard for him to believe that a 15 or 16-year-old boy would possess such strength. However, Corazon's achievements are out and out, beating Bigumum, helping Golden Lion escape without taking advantage of the right time and place, and even suppressing Roger's pirate ship. In the kingdom of Dulzrosa, all of Marine's top combat forces were defeated, and even Zephyr was captured on the spot. Ahahaha, let's see then, what kind of ambition does this brat have to send Lousy a phone bug? Whitebeard laughed boldly, looked at the phone bug in front of him and said. It's obvious that the visitor is not kind. Phoenix Marco said something worried, and the other captains clenched their hands in unison. That Corazon guy actually sent Morgans to send them this surveillance phone bug, how arrogant is he? I'm afraid it won't be long before they will be able to run into this empire. That Corazon is really amazing. He dared to take the initiative to provoke Marine. It's too dangerous. Roger, you must stay away from this guy in the future. Pluton Rayleigh said solemnly, looking at the picture of the phone bug placed in the center of the island. Well, it doesn't matter. Corazon just has ambitions for the territory, and it has nothing to do with me. Roger said indifferently while drinking. How could it be possible? Pluton Rayleigh glared fiercely at Roger. The target of the other party is the entire New World. Since this is the case, there will definitely be a conflict with them. The idiot. Pluton Rayleigh cursed inwardly. Above Naval Headquarters, Golden Lion is watching a picture clearer than a phone bug. Murloc. Golden Lion looked at the figure of Kisame in the picture with a look of shock. How is it possible? Idiot, it's obviously human. Indigo slapped Golden Lion on the head hard. But having said that, Golden Lion, what are we doing here? After Indigo finished filming, he looked at Golden Lion suspiciously and asked. He didn't understand why the Golden Lion came here to observe the battle, because they might be caught in the battle if they were not careful. Of course it is to intervene in this battle. Advertisement. The Golden Lion's face showed excitement. If both sides suffered from this battle, wouldn't it be his good chance? At the same time, the Bigum pirate ship, the Kaido of the Beasts pirate group, and the pirates in the territory of New World are all watching this scene intently. There is only one sentence in my heart, that is, the sky is about to change. In the whole world, under the gaze of more than tens of millions of people, Corazon opened his hands, gradually flew to a position of thousands of meters above the sky, and said indifferently. Neither the world government nor the marine can calm this chaotic sea. Bandits, pirates, rebels, and the evil king's army can be clearly seen in every corner of this world. It's not so much the world's cause, it's better to say that all this is caused by the world government and marine. Kong's expression changed drastically. He had heard that everything that happened here was watched by tens of millions of people. Once Corazon is allowed to tell all the darkness of marine and world government, it will be an irreversible consequence. At that time, it will be a catastrophe even more terrifying than marine. Sengoku, Garp, hurry up, don't let him continue talking. Kong urged anxiously. Yes, new. Sengoku and Garp responded, and their figures shot out instantly, but they didn't take 2 steps before their eyes became hot. So I thought, instead of letting Marine run the world, let me do it. As for Marine, they can't even feel the pain that ordinary people suffer, they are simply unnecessary things. Corazon opened his hands, as if he was crazily embracing the sky, and violent power radiated from his body. Feel the pain, think about the pain, accept the pain, understand the pain, start now, let the world feel the pain. Super Shenluo Tianzhong. That is, the repulsive force and flame that Jinbei who survived by chance said. Sengoku's eyes widened, and his body instantly transformed into a huge Buddha statue. After a few jumps, his body rushed to the sky, and the shock wave in his hand thought to confront repulsion. Crack. There was a crisp bone shattering, and Sengoku looked at his palm in pain. Not only the repulsion, but the heat of the flame almost burned his arm to ashes. Wow. With a bang, the repulsive force hit Sengoku's body. Sengoku spat out a mouthful of blood, and hit the ground, smashing countless cracks on the ground. Quick, run away, this island is going to be destroyed. Garp, don't think hard. Sengoku struggled to get up, roared loudly, reached out and grabbed Garp, and fled desperately to the island. Boom. Behind Sengoku, an extremely powerful impact came. At the moment of the impact, the forest in the center of the island was destroyed, revealing a piece of yellow sand with a large area of forest wreckage and ashes on it. The overwhelming dust came from the center of the island, almost comparable to a sandstorm, causing the ships around the island to shake wildly, and within a short while, several ships sank into the sea. P.S. A bag of rice has to resist several floors, a bag of rice has to resist the second floor, a bag of rice has a lot of tiredness, a bag of rice has a lot of tiredness, there is mud in the mouth, who will give you a bag of rice, it is spicy and heavenly. Door. Chapter 77 Shocked Big Pirates 2nd. Advertisement. Chapter 77 Shocked Big Pirates 2nd Update. Boom. Aokiji. Barely resisting the violent wind and waves, Sengoku roared angrily, but after shouting, he realized that Aokiji had been captured, and only Akainu could use the costume right now. Let me do it. Don't let the sick and injured do it. My arm is broken, and it's still not healed. Akainu frowned, looking at his scorched red arm. During the last battle, his arm was burned by the black flame Amaterasu, and the black flame was more violent than magma. Then Hidan used that weird attack, piercing the shoulders of 2 arms, one arm was reconnected, and the other arm was useless. No way, now only your lava fruit can resist. 007, don't complain to me. Kong frowned and scolded, feeling extremely annoyed in his heart. If I had known that he would not have brought these 3 warships here, it would have become a burden if I didn't help. I see. Boom. The violent repulsive storm and the scorching demon fire erupted completely in the center of the island, and the steel island was razed from the middle in an instant. Whether it was steel or the forest, they were all reduced to ruins under the sweep of repulsion. Then the scorching devil's fire turned the soil in the middle of the island into a piece of magma. If the flame at the center of the sun directly burned through the island, violent seawater poured in from the island vice-admiral, and then was completely evaporated by the flames. The Whitebeard pirates, Gumamu pirates, Golden Lion pirates and others all gasped when they saw this scene. This flame can turn the land into magma. How high is it? Hey, Marco, would a normal flame have such a temperature? Joes, the captain of the Whitebeard Pirates' 2nd Division, swallowed dryly and asked. Even through the video, he still felt the flame that seemed to melt diamonds, and he couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat. Of course it's impossible. This is obviously abnormal. Marco said in shock. Although the flame of his phoenix is not very lethal, it has a temperature similar to that of ordinary flames, but compared with the flame of the devil, it is like a contest between the stars and the bright moon. That brat is very strong. Whitebeard also stopped drinking, looking solemnly at Corazon in the sky. Originally thought that Corazon's defeat of Roger Pirates and Marine was just a coincidence, but Whitebeard, who saw this scene, directly overturned his previous thoughts. That scorching flame and that power are not weaker than him at all. Even the old man said that. Joes clenched his hands tightly. If Corazon's strength is weak, they can completely laugh off the purpose of Corazon's phone bug, but at this moment, they have to think about what Corazon's purpose is. That B*********** D Corazon, showing Lousy this, is he trying to make Lousy submit to him? How is that possible? Kaido of the Beast sat in a cave, and members of the Beast's pirates watched the screen projected on the phone, flew into a rage, and smashed the wine jar in front of them with one punch. Boss, that guy is very strong, and it seems that his subordinates are not weak. If they really come to attack us, we are not opponents. Quinn said with a frown on the side. Advertisement. B*************************************** D, who do you think Lousy is? Kaido of the Beasts roared and threw a mace, which sent Quinn flying hundreds of meters away. Lousy is Kaido of the Beasts. If you want Lousy to surrender, wait another 100 years. The big pirates in New World, some are fearful, some are angry, some are indifferent, and some are extremely nervous. Corazon's purpose was obvious, to make them surrender. At this moment, the hearts of the whole world were pulled up. Akainu saw the violent wind and waves approaching, and knew it was not time to worry about it. Although his arm hadn't fully healed yet, he really couldn't care about it. Gulu gulu. The boiling magma was bubbling in Akainu's hand, and he roared suddenly. Great eruption. Akainu's left arm was covered with magma, and the pungent sulfur breath covered the sky, and he punched out. Boom. The hot magma collided with the air waves, like a boulder blocking the tsunami. It can only block a small part, but this is the limit of Akainu. Enough is enough, then we are on. Sengoku took a deep breath, narrowed his eyes, and stared at Akatsuki standing on top of the giant white bird. Garp, you get rid of the guy with the blood-red eyes, I'll get rid of the one who used the curse, Marshal Kong will help us resist the attacks of other people, and the battle will be settled quickly. After a long investigation, Sengoku has identified who they consider weak in Akatsuki's organization. The first is Uchiha Itachi, who is very weak, and the second is Hidan, who has a single attack ability. Understood, as long as you don't look into those guys' eyes, there is no danger. Garp nodded and closed his eyes, only rely on observation haki to detect. Ala, Itachi-senpai, Hidan-senpai, they say you are weak, they want to get rid of you first. After Sengoku's voice fell, suddenly the air around Sengoku twisted, and a man wearing a Uzumaki mask, bouncing around and jumping around, shouted loudly. What? How dare you say that I'm weak, and you must dedicate it to Lord Evil God? Before Uchiha Itachi could respond, Hidan couldn't help it. There was a loud noise. Asterisk 2.3 Kakuzu, you don't meddle. I'm going to use them for a ritual. Those bastards, I want to cook them into pieces, smash them into pieces, and make them sticky. I must let them accept the heavenly punishment from Lord Evil God. Hey, Deidara, drop your bird, I'm going to teach those guys a lesson. It's so noisy. Kakuzu frowned and scolded, walked to Hidan's back and kicked him hard. Ah, Kakuzu, you be asterisk D, sooner or later I will dedicate you to Lord Evil God. Hearing Hidan scream, Kakuzu let out a cold snort, and jumped directly from the height of 1,000 meters. The guy who can't even die has such a slow personality. Chapter 78. Off-Phase Space Ninjutsu, 3rd Update. Advertisement. Chapter 78. Off-Phase Space Ninjutsu, 3rd Update. Thump. Boom. A dull impact sounded, and the scream was accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, making Sengoku and others gasp. Although they knew that Hidan's ability had the property of being immortal, being kicked down from a height of more than 1,000 meters by his companions simply made them feel chills in their hearts. It hurts, it hurts, it hurts. At this moment, Hidan's voice came from a large human-shaped pit, followed by a bloody figure crawling out of it, waving its fists in the sky in dissatisfaction. Kakuzu, this is really painful, you have to give me money to build an evil temple, otherwise I will never end with you. Upon hearing this, Kakuzu's face turned black. After coming to this world, Kakuzu found that his hard-earned money was invalid due to the non-circulation of the currencies of the two worlds. Let alone building temples, they would not even be able to afford food without Corazon. Just thinking about it gave Kakuzu an urge to die. Get rid of these guys, the money you got is enough for you to build 10 temples 16. Kakuzu glanced coldly at Sengoku and the others, and a few demons wearing white masks appeared behind them out of nowhere, spouting a gust of wind, and caught Kakuzu safely. Little Kakuzu, why don't you be embarrassing, these guys will clean up for the year of the monkey just based on my words. Hidan said disappointedly. It's not just you, idiot, we'll come together too. Deidara controlled the white clay lovebirds to descend from the sky, and frantically took out a large handful of clay and said, let my art fully bloom here. Hey, little Deidara, believe it or not, I sent you to meet Lord Evil God. Duan raised the blood-red sickle discontentedly. It's you who needs to shut up, Hidan. Deidara pouted and said, you seem to be the weakest in our organization, that's why you're being targeted. Ha! Hidan glanced at Deidara angrily, then looked at Garp and the others, and shouted in dissatisfaction. You guys, no matter how you look at me, I'm better than Deidara, right? Why don't you deal with this kid first? You're a bunch of monsters. Sengoku gritted his teeth and cursed. The eyes glanced at Afei inadvertently, and his heart was extremely shocked. This guy's ability is too weird. Not only did he appear behind his back out of thin air, he also exposed their plan, and they didn't realize all this. If this ability is used for reconnaissance or sneak attack, Sengoku can hardly imagine the consequences. Garp. Sengoku glanced at Garp unobtrusively, the latter nodded knowingly, and turned his body slightly. Senior Hidan, Senior Deidara, I am the weakest, don't grab me, I am very dangerous in this dangerous place, you have to protect me. Afei jumped behind Sengoku. Garp, get up and shout loudly. Hole, you are the most dangerous one. Sengoku and Garp roared at the same time, turned around at lightning speed, covered armament hockey with their hands, and swung their fists out. Iron bones. That guy is dead. Whitebeard looked at the screen projected by the phone bug, and said in a deep voice. Advertisement. Phoenix Marco, Diamond Joes and others who were paying attention to the live broadcast were stunned for a moment. Phoenix Marco looked at Whitebeard suspiciously and said. Father, that guy's ability is obviously space. Even if Sengoku Admiral and Garp are very strong, they may not be able to kill him 100%. Whitebeard shook his head, with a look of reminiscence on his face, pointing to a scar on his body, and said, I know the power of Sengoku and the old mad dog better than you. Even if that guy is too late to use his ability now. At a distance of less than 3 meters, Sengoku and Garp's speed is comparable to the speed of light, even he has no time to hide, let alone an unknown person. That's really a pity, I think he is still a good guy. Phoenix Marco said with some regret. He still has a good sense of this guy with a jumping personality. Not only Whitebeard, but even Golden Lion Roger and others did not give any hope that Afei could escape this trick. The attack of the 2 strongest men in the world, that kid can't die. What? Whitebeard stood up abruptly, looking at the picture on the virtual screen, his eyes almost popped out. Senior Deidara, Senior Hidan scared me to death, come and save me quickly. Hooligan screamed, passed through the fists of Sengoku and Garp, shouted and hid behind Deidara. Not good. Sengoku and Garp's expressions changed drastically, and they tried their best to withdraw their fists, but it was too late, the huge force on the fists made them hit the ground involuntarily. Click. There was a crisp sound of cracking on the ground, followed by a deafening explosion, and the sea reef on the coast of the Science and Technology Island was directly smashed into dense cracks, and it was completely shattered with a bang. It actually went through 930 degrees on that guy's body. Whitebeard took a sharp breath, his eyes were full of shock, this kind of ability had never been seen even in his experience. Daddy. Marco the Phoenix felt as if a head of cold water was pouring from his head, and his heart felt a little chilly. That weird ability, even armament hockey can't do anything about it, if they fight against them, will they have the ability to resist? After thinking about it for a moment, the Phoenix Marco showed horror on his face. He thought for a long time, but couldn't think of a way to deal with Afei. Afei, when did you get this power? Deidara looked at Afei with dangerous eyes. The B********** D hasn't been teasing him all this time, has he? Senior, I was wronged. Who knew that those 2 guys would come over suddenly, and I almost died. Fei yelled loudly. Stop talking nonsense, let's fight together and get rid of them. Corazon landed from the sky, and said with a cold glance at Marine covered in dust. In addition to the technology island, what he wants is more. And these, you must first get rid of these guys in front of you. Oh, Xiao organized everyone to look serious, and chakra surged all over their bodies. Chapter 79. Pull that cloud down for me, 4th. Advertisement. Chapter 79. Pull that cloud down for me, 4th. Hey, what are you doing? Give me some time to get ready. The corner of Hidan's mouth twitched and he looked at the members of the Akatsuki organization. He released the heart demon, cast Susano, and turned into Yamada no Orochi. Even Conan, the F***G Conan, made a 10 billion detonating talisman. Senior Hidan, it seems that you are the weakest this time, ha ha ha. Afei smiled triumphantly, and then jumped into the soil before Hidan got angry. Mine explosion technique. Afei, don't you think your life is too long? Hidan looked at Afei with a dark face, and then looked at the other people in Xiao's organization again, his face became even darker. It seems that in this organization, he seems to be a soy sauce. Useless things, get back to me. Kakuzu scolded coldly. 5 heart demons appeared out of the body at the same time, opened their mouths wide, and chakra of 5 attributes surged in it, and the powerful chakra made the air around Kakuzu tremble slightly. Earth resent you, let's set fire together. Boom. The 5 chakras converged to form a flame-colored shock wave that destroyed the burning island, leaving a deep chasm and crashing into Sengoku Garp and others head-on. Little Kakuzu, even you said that. Hidan looked at Sengoku Garp and others angrily. These guys didn't even give him a chance to use his deadly blood. Hidan, it's better not to play tricks. If you go in at this time, even if you are immortal, you will be burned to ashes. Corazon said with a smile. Your Majesty. Hidan was instantly dejected, he was about to rush into the center of Kakuzu's attack. God Paperman technique. Conan spread the wings made of white paper, flew into the sky, pointed his palm at the sea area below, and shook it suddenly. Boom. 10 billion detonating symbols exploded in an instant, and violent flames swept across the surrounding sea area. Everything, whether it was reefs or nearby island fragments, was completely covered in the explosion. Art. This is art, Conan, let my art merge with yours. Deidara watched the explosion frantically, and shouted frantically. If Corazon hadn't stopped him, Corazon felt that Deidara would have exploded himself to express his frenzy. C4 Garuda, my puppet's eternal art will not weaken the explosion of you two. The scorpion's gaze coldly pulled out the chakra line, causing the puppet of third cage to fly in the sky, and countless iron sand exploded in it instantly. Magnet-style sand and iron world law. Amaterasu. Uchiha Itachi's Mangekyo Sharingan turned, and Amaterasu's fire and Susanoo's 10-fist sword thrust out together. Shenluo Tianzhong. Tiandao Pain stretched out his palm in the sky, and the powerful repulsion made the flames and explosions more violent, and he couldn't even see the scene of the explosion. Ho ho ho, Hidan, you better watch from the sidelines. Orochimaru laughed hoarsely, and Yamada no Orochi suddenly spit out a gust of wind, and thousands of wind blades melted into it. You are too much. Hidan looked at the group of onlookers wanting to cry without tears, and immediately felt ruthless, cut his arm, and licked a mouthful of blood. Death depends on blood. Advertisement. Corazon looked at Hidan in surprise, is Hidan going to rush in at this time? This is a rare collaboration between the Akatsuki organization. If it goes to this level, I'm afraid Hidan won't even be a scumbag. Bah, 1 acre machine is so comfortable. With the sound of body piercing, Corazon twitched the corner of his mouth, and stopped looking at Hidan, who was self-inflicted and entertaining himself, turned his head and stretched out his palm, and the chakra of 9 tails surged in his body. The devil's repulsion. The repulsive force wrapped the flames, and the violent force instantly made the monstrous explosion and the flames violent again, almost reaching a height of several thousand meters in one rush. Hiss. Golden Lion gasped, and he didn't even need to look at the scene in the phone bug. Just the hot feeling coming from his buttocks made him imagine how exciting the battle was going to be below. Yeah, it's hot, it's so hot, this is the Sky Island tens of thousands of meters away, are those guys monsters? They're all guys of what strength? Indigo jumped up and down from the hot flames on the clouds, and shouted in pain. Of course it's a monster. Have you ever seen someone who dared to attack naval headquarters with such weird strength? Golden Lion took a deep breath and said in shock. Even if he is as strong as him, he can't help but envy Corazon at this moment, for being able to subdue so many strong men, and they are all loyal. You must know that although his Golden Lion fleet is powerful, among them, the strong ones with Conqueror's Haki are even rarer than the Janjiao organization. With the help of those guys, Laozi can rule the whole world easily. Golden Lion said enviously, and then a cold light radiated from his eyes. Since what he can't get, he absolutely can't let others get it. Such a strong threat must be eradicated. Immediately afterwards, Golden Lion nervously looked towards the center of the explosion. Kong Sengoku and the others must have something to offer, otherwise, let alone reaping the benefits, he may have to watch Corazon and the others become stronger and stronger. Daddy, Sengoku they, Marco the Phoenix swallowed, looked nervously at Whitebeard and asked. If you don't die, you will be seriously injured. Whitebeard didn't even bother to drink, and gave the answer directly, his eyes were full of dignity, staring at the screen, for fear of missing something. Hiss. Suddenly, there was a sound of sucking air on the Whitebeard pirate ship. I looked at the screen in disbelief, even my father said so, is Marine really going to change today? Ha ha ha, Ghost Shark, you are just like me, you are useless at all. Hidan pulled out the black spikes on his body, pointed at Kisame and laughed. Although his melee combat didn't work, didn't Kisame's obtained water style also didn't work. Thinking of this, Hidan felt much happier. Don't confuse me with you. Kisame showed a shark-like smile, he didn't make a move, just because the fire was too fierce before, and his water style would extinguish the fire, but now it's different. Water style. Big water blast. In an instant, the violent current extinguished the remaining flames, and violent waves washed everything on the edge of the coast into the sea, leaving no one in sight. Little Kakuzu. Hidan looked at Kakuzu resentfully, who ignored Hidan directly. Your Majesty, it seems that he is still alive, do you need me to deal with them? Heavenly Dao Pain Rinnegan moved, pointed to the sea and said indifferently. No, I don't have that time to spend with them. Corazon waved his hand, then looked at a burning cloud in the sky that was reddened by flames, a cold light flashed in his eyes and said, you and I will shoot together and pull down that cloud for me. Chapter 80. Big Umamu Pirates sending off their daughter's 5th change. Advertisement. Chapter 80. Big Umamu Pirates sending off their daughter's 5th change. Ho ho ho, if the king hadn't said it, I really haven't discovered how clouds can exist in such a high temperature. Orochimaru laughed hoarsely and licked his lips. Most of the clouds floating in the sky are small raindrops and small ice crystals formed by water vapor, which gather in low temperature areas to form clouds. And the temperature of the flames here is not lower than that of the flames, not to mention ordinary clouds, even an iceberg will melt. But having said that, Orochimaru has some doubts in his heart. No matter how different the clouds are, they are just ordinary clouds. How can they resist such scorching heat? As if seeing the doubt in Orochimaru's heart, Corazon stretched out his hand and said. That's not an ordinary cloud, but an island floating at a height of 10,000 meters. Clouds can't block the high temperature, but islands can. While speaking, Corazon's pupils instantly transformed into Rinnegan, and the chakra of 9 tails poured into his body, and the vitality was also continuously gathering in his hands. Super Universal Pull. Super Universal Pull. The voices of Corazon and Tiandao Pain came out at the same time, and the strong gravitational force caused O63 to distort the surrounding air. The world was in shock as Corazon and Doom Pain attempted to bring Sky Island down. Especially New World, those big pirates who are usually invincible, are all speechless at this moment. Hey, just kidding, the opponent is Marine Admiral, and the hero Garp. Beasts pirates, Jack the Drow yelled in disbelief. Boss, is this true or not? How could that little-known force defeat the strongest Marine? Quinn also looked at Kaido of the Beasts in shock. Even though he broke his head, he didn't expect this ending. Marine's strongest combat power is all gathered together. With this combat power, even if they face Golden Lion and Whitebeard at the same time, they may not be able to lose. However, according to what Kaido of the Beasts said, Corazon still has 7 ninja swordsmen and a demon army that have not yet been dispatched. Only one new force has defeated the strongest Marine force. It is simply eye-popping. Kaido of the Beasts. Okay, BGFB, let's keep a low profile from now on, give up the sites closest to Corazon, and everyone come back. Kaido of the Beasts said after a moment of silence, with no previous arrogance on his face. Boss. Jack the Drow and Quinn looked at Kaido of the Beasts in shock. The boss who is not afraid of anything, actually backed down. Kaido of the Beasts felt the gaze cast by his subordinates, and clenched his palms tightly, almost wanting to growl out of anger in his heart. What can he do? The monsters under Corazon may not be as powerful as him, but their abilities are more and more strange. If he continues to be so crazy, maybe Corazon will directly target him, and then he may really die. I see, boss. Quinn swallowed dryly, and was about to turn around and stare at his subordinates, telling them not to provoke the Empire. By the way, doesn't Corazon like women? Send the women we robbed to a few, maybe we won't fight with us. Suddenly, a pirate under Kaido of the Beast said excitedly. Boom. Advertisement. The mace of Kaido of the Beasts directly smashed the pirate into a pulp, then roared, smashed the phone bug in front of him to pieces, and strode outside. This. Brother Quinn. Jack the Drow looked at Quinn at a loss, he really didn't know what the boss meant. Quinn swallowed in shock, but the Kaido boss didn't express any objection. What kind of shock did that group of people bring to Boss Kaido? Taking a deep breath, Quinn looked at his subordinates reluctantly, and said, Go, pick a few good-looking beauties from the beauties you snatched not long ago, and send them over. Not only the Kaido of the Beasts pirates, but also the Bigumamu pirates were in shock at this time. However, Bigumamu was not as angry as Kaido of the Beasts. Instead, she laughed excitedly and stared at her 18th daughter, Butter Minister Charlotte Garrett. Garrett, what do you think of Corazon? After Garrett heard it, her face turned red. Of course, she understood what her mother meant. After seeing Corazon's powerful combat power, she wanted to cooperate with him, and for this reason, she wanted to get married. But, Sister Smoothie, Garrett still hesitated. Well, strong man, 3 wives and 4 concubines are normal, and Corazon is not bad, so this matter is settled. Bigumamu didn't care whether Garrett was willing or not, just like a child laugh out loud, clap your hands and dance excitedly. If Corazon, who is stronger than Marine, can marry their family, Bigumamu can laugh out loud in his dreams. Corazon. Garrett blushed and glanced at Corazon on the screen, he had a good impression of Corazon, after all Corazon is also a handsome boy. But, sisters, just thinking about Garrett made her face blush. As for Golden Lion, Whitebeard, Roger and others, they naturally wouldn't do such a thing. Although they didn't intend to please Corazon, Whitebeard, Golden Lion and others didn't intend to get along well with Corazon, instead they all became vigilant. With such a powerful Corazon, of course, the target cannot be just a random place in the New World, and it is bound to have a fight with them. Just when Golden Lion was thinking about how to intimidate Corazon, his face suddenly changed, and he lowered his head in shock, looking at the trembling ground. This is ability opposite to mine. His lion fruit can make the island float in midair, but this inexplicable force actually wants to pull his island down. Quote exclamation mark quote. Golden Lion's complexion changed drastically, his hands touched the ground, and he exerted all his strength to keep the dozens of surrounding islands from sinking. However, in just 1 second, Golden Lion could no longer control the sinking of these dozens of islands. Following the roar of the Golden Lion, dozens of islands were almost lit up in flames, and landed straight down to the sea below like a meteorite. Chapter 81. Akainu who was killed Part 1. Advertisement. Chapter 81. Akainu who was killed Part 1. Although I heard what the king said, but seeing this scene is really shocking. There are really islands in the sky above 10,000 meters. Orochimaru licked his lips evilly, his eyes were full of fanaticism. Wow. On the sea in the distance, 3 miserable, pitch-black figures crawled out of the sea. It was so miserable that Whitebeard couldn't help but gasp when he saw it. This, you can smell it through the screen. Whitebeard muttered. Kong and Garp were not bad, after all, they jumped into the sea at the first time, but Sengoku and Akainu were unlucky, they were blown to blackness, their hair, eyebrows and clothes were burnt. Garp, give me half of your clothes. Sengoku coughed up a mouthful of blood, turned and grabbed Garp's clothes. What, do you want to embarrass the old man? Garp's face froze, and he flatly refused. Sengoku spat out a mouthful of blood, looked at Garp speechlessly, and said, then you have the heart to embarrass me. This is broadcast live all over the world. He is a Marine Admiral after all, so he still needs face. Huh, well then, the old man will be merciful and give you a sleeve. Garp generously tore off his blackened sleeve and threw it to Sengoku to hide his shame. Puff. Garp, are you human in this situation? Sengoku looked at the sleeve that was not as big as his own palm, spit out a mouthful of blood angrily, his face was flushed, and he wished he could find Garp now. You guys, why don't you go back to naval headquarters now? Akainu said weakly as Garp put his arms around his waist and carried him on his shoulders. He is already desperate. Garp aside, although Sengoku was naked, he can't see it in the sea anyway, his old buttocks have been seen by people all over the world, let alone be promoted to admiral, even being promoted to marshal is a stain. Stop making trouble, those guys didn't come after them, there must be some plan. Kong looked at Sengoku and Garp, the corner of his mouth twitched, and he turned his head to look in Corazon's direction. He didn't take advantage of the time when they were seriously injured, but saw the target in the sky, which made Kong wonder if there was any conspiracy. Garp crawled out of the sea, looking at the sky suspiciously. Mr. Garp, I will definitely fight for you in the future. Akainu spat out a mouthful of blood and growled angrily. Afterwards, seeing Morgans turn the camera of the phone bug to him, and deliberately took a close-up, Akainu suddenly rushed up, didn't catch his breath, and passed out directly. That is, Golden Lion's lion fruit ability, I didn't expect him to join forces with Corazon. Thump. Garp looked solemnly, stretched out his hand, and accidentally threw Akainu on the ground, turned around and looked at Sengoku Kong and said anxiously. Marshal Kong, hurry up and let the CP agents of the world government come over to support, otherwise it will be very difficult for us to win. The faces of Kong and Sengoku twitched, and their eyelids pointed at Akainu, saying, we all know the truth, but you should turn Sakazuki over. Marine is going to lose face. Seeing Akainu lying on the ground, Corazon gasped, feeling a little cold in his lower body. Advertisement. Hey, Hidan, you're too ruthless. Corazon looked at Hidan with the corners of his mouth twitching. The most important part of a man, it hurts to touch it, how did he do it? Hidan scratched his head in doubt, and then watched Deidara, Afei and others retreat, even Kakuzu looked at him with a strange face, and immediately waved his hand and explained, it's not my fault. Why is his body so weird? He can't take damage, he can only feel pain, that's why I can attack there. You can even attack yourself, Hidan, I really didn't realize that you are such a cruel person. Kakuzu swallowed and said. It is estimated that Akainu has no hope for the rest of his life. He never dared to fight with Hidan again, in case Hidan did this to him. When Morgan saw it, he was not surprised but delighted. He not only aimed at Akainu with the phone bug, but also took out the camera and clicked and shot continuously. Have you seen it? This is the most explosive news, the Marine Elite Rear Admiral Sakazuki is actually at. Akainu, who had just woken up, immediately spit out a mouthful of blood after hearing this, and passed out with despair on his face. He was still normal at first, but in the last battle with Hidan, the severe pain accompanied him for dozens of minutes, and he experienced dozens of encounters that would make life worse, and the result became like this, 071703216 Philu 112,210,000. Seeking flowers 00. It's okay not to say it, but after being reported by Morgans, Akainu even has the heart to die. Garp, I'm not done with you. With a dark face, Sengoku grabbed Garp's upper body clothes, wrapped them around his waist, and hit Akainu on the shoulder. At this time, Sengoku and Garp had time to look at what happened in the sky, and their eyes became serious. Those dozens of islands that landed like meteorites are definitely the ability of Golden Lion, but it seems a bit different from their imagination of Corazon and Golden Lion joining forces. The speed of the island's descent was too fast, and in the friction of the air, it almost turned into dozens of fiery red meteorites. If it hits at this level, there may not be any living people. I saw the Golden Lion flying below dozens of islands, roaring and trying to pull the islands up into the sky. But to no avail, the impact of the island and the two powerful gravitational forces directly crushed the fluttering ability of the Golden Lion. Garp Sengoku, get out of here quickly, the island is about to fall. Seeing that the island didn't stop at all, Kong's face gradually became terrified. With a roar, he quickly took Garp and Sengoku to a distance. Boom boom boom. A series of dozens of deafening bombing sounds sounded, and the impact force of the islands falling from a height of tens of thousands of meters is definitely not weaker than that of meteorites. Except for the island where the Golden Lion is located, dozens of other islands collapsed in an instant. Golden Lion stared at his hard-working subordinates who were completely destroyed by the explosion at this moment, and the anger in his heart almost dazzled his reason. Corazon. Lousy is going to kill you. Lion Majesty. Earth coiling. The Golden Lion roared, with violent killing intent in his eyes, and with a wave of his hand, dozens of huge lion heads made of soil roared and bit Corazon. Corazon didn't care about the oncoming lion head, just glanced lightly, then turned to look at Afei and said, Afei, I will give you a task to collect the devil fruit collected by Golden Lion, as well as gold and silver jewelry, steal it from me. Yes. Afei waved his hand, and then the space in front of him spun, leading him to disappear in zero. Chapter 82 Summoning S-level forces again. Advertisement. Chapter 82 Summon level 5 forces again. Don't come here to be annoying. After Ah Fei left, Deidara looked at Golden Lion unhappily. Even the little brother has such a great fighting power, he can't lag behind. The beauty of art, between blooming an instant. Drink. 2 clay lovebirds were thrown back and flew out, colliding with the Earth Lion made by Golden Lion. With a bang, the 2 roaring Earth Lions created by Golden Lion, be shattered by light circles. This made Golden Lion's face extremely ugly, but he still ignored it and rushed over with a knife in his hand. Thousand Slice Valley. The light of the 2 blades flashed in the sky, beheading and attacking Corazon in a straight line. If you're still thinking about attacking me at this moment, why not think about how to escape, idiot? May 17th, Lion. The corners of Corazon's mouth curled up in a sarcasm. The powerful repulsive force spreading out from his hands instantly destroyed Golden Lion's sword blade, even taking Golden Lion back a few steps. Only then did Golden Lion's expression change drastically, noticing that the only remaining island he had landed next to naval headquarters, and the 2 islands were closely connected. If you continue to fight with me, the lair will be gone. By then, you will be alone, a wild lion abandoned by lion pride. What do you use to fight me? Corazon walked towards the sea calmly, his tone flat, but made Golden Lion clenched his fists with an angry look on his face. Damn brat. With a low growl, Golden Lion turned around and ran towards naval headquarters. Pain, tighten him up for me, and make this old lion regret today. Corazon said coldly. Lurking above the sky, actually wanting to bully him, and the price of the last time, this time Corazon has to get it back with profit. Yes, Heavenly Dao Pain respectfully responded, and his figure appeared in the sky in a flash. The strong repulsive force on the island couldn't lift the Golden Lion up at all. Your Majesty, where are we going next? Orochimaru asked suspiciously. Of course it's the foundation of Marine, move the naval headquarters recruit training camp away. Corazon licked his lips, looking excitedly at the center area of naval headquarters. Naval Headquarters Training Camp. This batch of Marines includes Hina and Smokey. Although they are just ordinary Marine teenagers, Corazon has no intention of letting them go. Shua shua shua. The figures of Corazon flickered, and they ran fast on the sea water. Under the angry eyes of Sengoku and Garp, they came to Naval Headquarters. Yo, Sengoku and Zephyr are both working as instructors in our empire. I'm worried that he hasn't taught students for a long time, resulting in unfamiliar teaching methods, and these guys will be taken away. Corazon waved happily, and then turned his eyes to Deidara. Oh, I see. Even without Corazon talking, Deidara understood what Corazon meant, and immediately stretched out his hand excitedly and dragged out a few small spiders. In the continuous explosion, a huge depression was blown out in the central area of Naval Headquarters. You dare! Kong roared angrily, covered armament hockey with his hands, and ran over desperately. Advertisement. Marine recruits are the future of Marine, even if they are seriously injured, they cannot let Marines' roots be cut off. Don't worry, I will take good care of them. The corner of Corazon's mouth curled up, and his figure flickered, appearing in front of Kong, with his neck tilted slightly, dodging Kong's fist, and then punched Kong heavily in the stomach. The Devil's Fire Fist. Boom. Kong spat out a mouthful of blood, violent flames poured out from Corazon's fist, directly penetrated Kong's body, and burned the ground behind Kong into a sheet of magma. If you are seriously injured, don't try to show off. Corazon leaned against Kong's ear and whispered something before kicking him away. A series of impact sounds sounded, and Kong's figure was like a shell flying upside down, crashing into several rockeries and walls, and finally his back was deeply embedded in a rockery, spitting blood continuously. Marshal Kong, are you all right? Sengoku and Garp shrank their pupils, ran over quickly, and anxiously lifted Kong's body up. Cough cough cough. I'm fine. Kong stood up reluctantly, his body swaying, coughing blood continuously in his mouth. How could it be all right? Garp clenched his teeth fiercely, although Kong's body was not penetrated, but the hot flames had already cooked most of the skin on Kong's stomach. If it weren't for Kong's good physical fitness, I'm afraid his heart would have been burned to ashes. Damn it. Sengoku stared at Corazon with furious eyes almost flaming. However, Corazon just laughed and turned his head away. Universal pull. There was a crackling sound from the ground, and then Kong Garp Sengoku's eyes widened, watching the ground gradually float up. Tens of thousands of Marine students, put them down. Sengoku's eyes were shattered, and he turned into the form of a giant Buddha, and rushed forward with one step, trying to grab the vacated land, but was hit by a hard punch by Corazon, who spit out a mouthful of blood and took 2 steps back. Sprinkle the oil. Seeing Sengoku Garp and others staring at him angrily, Corazon just smiled indifferently. In the battle just now, these guys had already been seriously injured in order to protect the 3 warships. If they were not his opponents, no matter how angry they were right now, it would be useless. 1.2 inches. If you have time to stare at me, why don't you take a good look at the Golden Lion? That guy will not let you go. Corazon said playfully, stepping on Marine's land and gradually flying walk. And on Marine's island at this time, a huge hollow appeared, as if a hole had been dug in the grassland, which was particularly conspicuous. Your Majesty, I have brought Dr. Vegapunk back. After he and Judge studied it, he said that he can produce 500,000 clones in just 3 days. A white Zetsu emerged from Orochimaru's body, and said respectfully. 3 days. Corazon's eyes were full of surprise. So, just wait another 3 days, can he sumo Chapter 83. The Golden Lion Pirates are wiped out. Third update. Advertisement. Chapter 83. The Golden Lion Pirates are completely destroyed. Part 3. 7 days later. Your Majesty, news from Naval Headquarters has arrived. Ju's figure emerged from the ground, half kneeling on the ground and said respectfully. This battle has been fought for 7 days. Those who were either consumed or worn out, who won? Corazon asked with great interest. Although Marine Sengoku and Garp are present, and Kong and Akainu, hey, where is Ja Yuan? Something is wrong. Corazon realized that he didn't seem to see Kizaru since he arrived at Naval Headquarters. Where did this guy go? After thinking for a while, Corazon gave up thinking about this question and turned his head to look at Ju. Your Majesty, this is a great victory for Marine. The Golden Lion Pirates are all wiped out, and no one can escape. Ju said respectfully. Oh, Corazon sneered. Golden Lion is really useless, although dozens of islands he controlled were destroyed, but the main island he was on was still not destroyed, at least tens of thousands of soldiers, plus Golden Lion himself, he couldn't even deal with a few crippled guys. You know, Kong Sengoku Garp and several others were all 16 severely injured by the Akatsuki organization, and they didn't even have time to react to his attack. In this case, Marine can win. Corazon really doesn't know what to say. Then, where are the things Afe stole? Corazon turned his head and asked. Your Majesty, here, first also robbed Marine, look. Afe's figure walked out of the Uzumaki in the space, jumped a few times excitedly, and revealed a Mangekyo Sharingan from the mask. Immediately, overwhelming gold jewels, boxes of Baileys, and more than a dozen devil fruits rolled to the ground. This is too dazzling. Ghost Lantern Full Moon couldn't help covering the light with her hands. The gold, silver and jewels, which are comparable to a hill, are like a sun under the reflection of the sun, which is so dazzling that it is difficult to look directly at it. Corazon was dumbfounded. FK, hooligan, are you stealing Naval Headquarters all over again? The corner of Corazon's mouth twitched and asked. He could already imagine the scene of Sengoku yelling. I don't know. Anyway, when I was stealing things, Naval Headquarters was blown up, but with my ninjutsu, I escaped safely. Afe said bouncingly. It's a good thing you didn't get killed there. Deidara said with a dark face. He felt more and more that this guy was playing him. Ah, there is so much money, Brother Killer B, should we hold a concert? Naz asked excitedly, jumping on the Golden Mountain. Of course, the residents of this kingdom like our rap very much, how can we let them down? Killer B said excitedly. 2 live treasures. Corazon shook his head with a smile, and said casually, absolutely, you can pick 2 of these devil fruits with good talent and eat them later. Yes, Your Majesty. Advertisement. He replied respectfully, and then said in doubt, Your Majesty, do you want to give those devil fruits to Marine? Although after snatching those Marine students, Corazon directly let them join the Empire, and let Zephyr train as usual, but according to Ju's thinking, they are all a group of white-eyed wolves who are not familiar with it, so why waste resources to train them? It can be given to them. Corazon stood up and said lightly, it doesn't matter if they have 2 minds, under the suppression of absolute strength, even if they have other thoughts, they can only do things for me obediently, or you don't have the confidence to suppress them. Ju trembled all over, and sank to the ground after a respectful reply. There are Akatsuki Organization, 9-tailed beasts Jinchuriki, Gate of Hades, and Ninja Sword 7 people. Although the number is not too many, they are enough to suppress any force in this world. And Corazon is not the kind of person who likes to cut the grass and root out and solve the problem from the root. He wanted to see those Marines gradually surrendering to the Empire in desperation. Your Majesty, Big Umamu Pirates, Kaido of the Beasts Pirates have sent someone here, saying they are giving you a gift. Outside the door, Kisame said respectfully, under the watchful eyes of everyone, a dozen beauties slowly came from outside the door. This is. After Corazon saw it, he touched his chin slightly and shouted towards the inside of the palace. Smoogie, come out. Following the sound, a beautiful woman with 2-meter-long legs came out, looked at Corazon with a reddish face, then looked at those beauties, and was taken aback for a moment. Sister Garrett. At the head of those beauties, there was a woman with pink hair, lipstick, fair skin, and a purple cloak and red skirt. Compared with this woman, the other beauties looked pale. Garrett blushed and lowered her head, not daring to speak. Smoothie immediately knew what happened, and couldn't help scolding Bigum in his heart. His face flushed, he quickly grabbed Garrett's hand, and looked at Corazon with pleading eyes. No matter how you put it, this is too much, as sisters, how can you? Hey 780, Smoothie, your sister is tired from running all the way. Take your sister back to the room to rest. Corazon said with a chuckle. Legs, long legs of 1.6 meters, it's okay. He just likes others to use beauty tricks for him, beauties can stay, tricks, no need. HMPH, Big B asterisk 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 D. Upon hearing Corazon's words, Smoothie knew that it was impossible to send his sister back. He blushed and was so ashamed that he quickly pulled Jale into his room and locked the door specially. Watching Smoothie leave, Corazon couldn't help licking his lips, thinking of Boa Hancock. A few years have passed, that girl must have grown up to be pretty. Go back and move 9 Snake Island over here. After thinking for a while, Corazon turned his head to look at Orochimaru, and said. Orochimaru, what happened to the clones you made these days, is it enough for 500,000? As soon as he mentioned this, Orochimaru immediately regained his spirits and said excitedly, Your Majesty, the number of clones has reached 1 million. They have joined the wood-style gene and have strong resilience. The entire kingdom has been strictly guarded. Quote. Very good. 1 million. Excitement appeared in Corazon's eyes. 500,000 would be enough, and I don't know what kind of force is being summoned this time. Chapter 84 Accelerator arrives in Academy City, 4th change. Advertisement. Chapter 84 Accelerator arrives in Academy City, 4th change. Etc. Corazon seemed to have thought of something. With a trace of surprise on his face, he turned his head to look at Orochimaru and asked. You mentioned the wood-style gene just now. Can this batch of clones use ninjutsu? Orochimaru licked the corner of his mouth, nodded and said excitedly, That's right, my lord. Chakra is extracted from the body, and after incorporating the wood-style gene, those clones can already use some weak small ninjutsu. Very good. There was surprise in Corazon's eyes. He once tried to let people in this world learn ninjutsu, but no matter what, he couldn't successfully extract chakra, which also made him stop the idea of cultivating ninjas. But it's different now. After merging the wood-style gene, those clones can use ninjutsu, which means that ninjas can be cultivated in this world. Compared with the ability brought by Devil Fruit, ninjutsu is undoubtedly more comprehensive. Thinking about tens of thousands of ninjas using water style at the same time in the future to create a piece of ocean carrot, I am very excited from the heart. Immediately made a decisive decision, and said, Orochimaru, you will lead the people of the Akatsuki organization to teach those clone ninjutsu, and you don't need to care about other attributes, water style must be housed. Yes, Orochimaru responded respectfully, with fanaticism in his eyes. He also wanted to see what kind of monsters would be cultivated by the monster-like physique in this world, after adding the Jonin technique. Okay, by the way, call Doflamingo and Tesoro from North Blue, let him finance the gold, and make me a golden palace. Corazon casually gave a command, and the figure flashed, appearing above the palace of the palace. Although the golden palace is very vulgar, but after the glittering palace is built, the visual effect created by the palace made of gold must be extraordinary. Just like the Golden City in the future, Corazon dares to say that there is no place in the world as spectacular as that. System, check my number of S-level summons. Corazon said in his mind. After such a long time, dozens of nearby islands have been robbed and merged with the original mainland. Corazon doesn't even know how many people he has under his command. Report to host. Currently, there are 4,567,840 people under host's command, and there are still 5.54 million people short of a secondary summon. Currently, there are 1.02 million soldiers under host's command. They have S-level summons once, and when they reach 5 million soldiers, they can be summoned by SS-level forces. Once. After hearing the words of the system, Corazon pondered. Although the pirate world is vast, the population distribution is too scattered, and often there are only a few 100,000 people on an island, which leads to a particularly small increase in population. As for the increase of soldiers, although Corazon wanted to make him reach 5 million, but the number of people was too small and food was in short supply. It's a headache. It seems that we still need to increase the number of people first. Corazon pondered for a while, with several goals in mind, and then said. System, take advantage of my opportunity to descend on the S-rank forces. He also wants to see, what is the force that can be compared with the Akatsuki organization. Of course, Corazon hoped that the summoning this time would bring more people. Otherwise, it would be too pitiful for a continent with dozens of islands fused together to have only a few million scattered people. The host uses the S-level force to summon the opportunity to descend, and is screening for the host. The screening is over, the goal is the Forbidden World. Summoning Academy City. Advertisement. Accelerators with superpowers. Esper Kakin Titoku. Esper Masaka Makoto. Superman Mujino Shimuri. Esper Eater Masaki. Lan Yu, a person with superpowers. Superman Sajiban Gunba. The powerful Shirai Kuroko. Quote. Asterisk. Because the summoning power is relatively large, the time is 10 seconds. Quote. Quote. 8. Damn it. Corazon was really shocked this time. Academy City, which owns 1/3 of the territory of Tokyo, has countless powerful people, and actually summoned this force. You must know that Academy City, the city of schools, includes dozens of universities and hundreds of elementary schools, junior high schools, and high schools, with a total of more than 1,000 research institutions, large and small. With a population of nearly 2.3 million, 80% of the residents over 1.8 million are students. Ask for flowers. Academy City has the most cutting-edge technology in the world, 20 to 30 years ahead of the outside world. In this world where the technology tree is crooked, it is definitely hundreds of times stronger than that technology island. With the satellite technology he possesses, if he launches 2 satellites in this world, it means that he has absolute control over intelligence. Not to mention human cloning technology, more than 10,000 Masaka sisters are still there. The thing that makes Corazon the most is his population, which is more than 2 million, which is equivalent to half of his current total population. Even if Accelerator is summoned, Corazon is not so excited. System, are you sure you're not mistaken? Academy City is an S-rank force. Corazon swallowed and asked excitedly. That's a population of more than 2 million, Accelerator who is comparable to a person with absolute ability. How can it be said that there is no way there is only S rank? Where do you let Shao organization face? You must know that the population brought by the Akatsuki organization is less than 300,000, not to mention that Corazon feels that Accelerator is better than Tiandao Pain. Reporting to the host, Academy City is the top of the S-level forces, but there is still a big gap with the SS forces, so it can only be rated as the top of the S-level forces. Hiss. Corazon couldn't help but take a breath when he heard that. Accelerator's ability was exerted to the limit, and it could even stop the rotation of a planet for a few seconds. Such a strength is still not enough for a faction to call it S-dollar. Just how terrifying are SS-level powers? Is it possible that if I summon the Gotei 13th Division or Espada from the Shinigami world, do I have to move the whole world over? Suppressing the excitement in his heart, Corazon looked outside the palace. In the area outside the palace, as the light flashed, the seawater was violently discharged, and a high-tech, spectacular island appeared out of thin air. The neat and well-planned streets, the high-tech research institute, the neat houses, and the powerful aura made Corazon swallow involuntarily. Chapter 85. Aokiji who was scared by Accelerator and dare not resist, 5th change. Advertisement. Chapter 85. Aokiji who was scared by Accelerator and dare not resist, 5th change. Ho ho ho, Your Majesty, is this also a new companion? Orochimaru looked at the island that appeared out of thin air, and couldn't help but licked his lips, with excitement on his face. The whole island is made of various machines, and the precision of the structure makes Orochimaru's face frenzied, and he can't wait to rush over to study it now. Corazon nodded slightly, and stood above the palace, quietly watching who would come first. Seeing this scene, Zephyr, who was training Marine in the distance, couldn't help but shrink his pupils and his mouth grew cold. This is really incredible, where did it come from? Aokiji asked dryly, swallowing a mouthful of saliva. With his observation haki, even, 900, didn't even see where the island came from. He only felt the ground shake for a while, and the island stood before his eyes. Mr. Zephyr, is this the power of the big villain Corazon? It looks so evil. A cute little loli stretched out her palm looking at the island in the distance, and swung it viciously a few times. Hina, don't talk nonsense, we are still in the enemy's territory, we must know how to endure. Zephyr's face straightened, and he scolded. Hina got it. Little loli became dejected, living so comfortably here, she almost forgot that she was taken captive. Husband, His Majesty Corazon has treated you well. He not only reunited our family of 3, but also gave us a place to live, food and supplies, all of which are the best. You can also walk freely in the Empire. Let me say, you might as well really join the Empire. Anyway, His Majesty Corazon has nothing against Marine. A woman with a crack on her face beside Zephyr persuaded softly. A woman's opinion, as a Marine, how can I join forces with the evil party? Zephyr frowned and said loudly. Forget it, do whatever you want. The woman sighed and said, anyway, I am content to be with you after death. After Zephyr heard it, he clenched his palms tightly, his eyes full of complex and tangled colors. That woman was his wife. Although she was an impure world reincarnation, she was no different from a living person. She also had a son. The happy family made Zephyr's dry heart pour into a clear spring. When he wakes up in the morning, his wife will make a meal, and after eating, he will come out to train those Marines, and go around the island at night. This kind of day is something that Zephyr never dared to think about before. You must know that Zephyr wanted to be with his family before, but because of missions, pirates at sea are busy every day, and there is almost no time to rest. Now seeing the thriving civilians and the hardworking Marine, it is almost like a dream same. If he were to leave the Empire now, Fajan couldn't imagine whether he would leave. Really, why do you think so much at such an old age? Being captured has the attitude of being captured. Aokiji shook his head lazily, then walked to a corner where there was no one, and took out a phone bug. Moxie, is it Marshal Kong? I have a situation here. What do you want to report? Suddenly, a voice full of madness and disdain came from behind Aokiji, instantly causing Aokiji to shudder all over, and violent ice appeared on his hands. Just when he was about to attack, Aokiji suddenly realized that this is not naval headquarters. Slowly raising his palm, Aokiji turned around, and suddenly saw a man with white hair, red pupils, slender body, hands and feet lacking muscles, mixed murderous and crazy eyes, and seemed to have despaired of the world. The boy who twisted the corner of his mouth. The white-haired boy was squatting on a nearby wall, looking at him indifferently, making Aokiji gasp. Advertisement. Although this boy felt extremely weak physically, he gave Aokiji an extremely dangerous feeling. The most important thing is that in the area covered by Aokiji observation haki, I can't feel the figure of this white-haired boy, as if the other party does not exist in this world. Okay, come with me and see how the king treats you. Accelerator sneered, kicked the phone bug in Aokiji's hand to pieces, picked up Aokiji's clothes, and jumped towards the palace. Aokiji's heart was pounding, and he looked at Accelerator in disbelief. How could such a weak body be able to move at such a high speed? During the jump, it can span tens of meters. The nervousness of seeing Corazon soon made Aokiji's breathing quicken, and he wanted to resist, but when he thought about the powerful people gathered in the Empire at this time, he still silently gave up this idea. Mr. Zephyr, Mr. Garp, I'm afraid. I'm going to die, Aokiji thought sadly in his heart. As a prisoner, he enjoys the treatment of not being a prisoner. In this case, he also secretly passed the information to Marine. Accelerator has met the king. After a few jumps, Accelerator stood on the top of the palace, half kneeling on the ground and said respectfully. You don't need to be so polite. Corazon looked at Accelerator, said with a smile, and then turned his gaze to Aokiji. 43. Accelerator threw Aokiji on the ground, and said coldly, just now I saw him sneaking around and contacting someone, so I arrested him. Marine. The members of the Akatsuki organization standing above the palace, the demon from the gate of Hades and others stared at Aokiji with cold eyes. It's over. Aokiji suddenly missed a beat in his heart, and there was a little despair in his eyes. Oh, that's it, it's okay, let him go. After Korra 4.0 Song heard it, he waved his hand indifferently and said, making the desperate Aokiji look unbelievable, let him go. He has secretly passed on the information, so he doesn't care. What's wrong? Corazon looked at Aokiji and said with a smile. I already knew about you secretly sending messages to Marine, it's not a big deal, let's go. Immediately, Aokiji tightly clutched his chest, fearing that his heart would jump out of his throat, and everyone could see the disbelief in his eyes. The thing about him secretly passing the news. Corazon actually knew about it a long time ago, and he didn't stop it. Just how arrogant. No, exactly how arrogant. Doesn't this mean that Corazon is confident that even if it fights against the entire world government and Marine, it can suppress? Chapter 86. Marine involved in the Red Line of Death, 6th update. Advertisement. Chapter 86. Marine involved in the Red Line of Death, 6th update. Hey, Aokiji, tell me what you hear. Kong looked at the phone bug anxiously. It was a phone bug to prevent surveillance. He sent it in at a great price. Logically speaking, Aokiji had provided him with so many information, so it shouldn't be discovered. Why this time? ZZZ. There was a blind tone from the phone bug. It was not a normal hang-up, because the monitor phone bug didn't have the option to hang up at all. The only possibility was that the phone bug was destroyed. Hateful. Kong slammed his fist on the table, causing his still body to spit out a mouthful of blood, clutching his chest, and sat back on the chair in pain. Don't worry, Aokiji shouldn't be in any danger. Crane Vice Admiral persuaded from the side. HMPH, being captured by the enemy, one should have the awareness of death. In comparison, that guy Zephyr is not worthy of being called a Marine. Akainu said with a cold snort. Shut up, you don't know where to feed when you can't catch pirates. Garp cursed angrily with his body wrapped in bandages. Zephyr is not something you can insult, Akainu 16. Sengoku, who was also wrapped in bandages, looked at Akainu coldly. Akainu was stared at coldly by Garp and Sengoku, and suddenly shivered all over, and sat back on the chair obediently, not daring to speak anymore. Aokiji, Zephyr. Kong didn't care about their quarrel at all, rubbing his temples with a headache, a Marine Admiral, a Marine Elite Rear Admiral, and tens of thousands of Marine soldiers. That is the future of Marine, and it was all taken away in 2 battles. Just when Kong was full of sorrow, a flash of light shot out from the window, and immediately, everyone's eyes were focused on the flash, and even Garp and Sengoku couldn't help breathing quickly. Kizaru, what happened to what I asked you to do? Kong didn't even wait for Kizaru to turn into a human form, he slapped the table and stood up, asking anxiously. Well, it's still very easy to catch those guys, but this time I'm out of luck. Kizaru transformed into an adult form, and said with a bitter face. Arresting Corazon's big brother and father, the feud has become serious, although he heard that Aokiji is doing well in the Empire, but Kizaru can already imagine what kind of punishment he would suffer when he was caught by the people of the Empire. Just thinking about it almost brought tears to his eyes. Very good, Kong shouted excitedly, walking up and down the office excitedly. With Corazon's family, I'm not afraid that if he doesn't hand over Aokiji and Zephyr, even the tens of thousands of Marine recruits will be snatched back. At that time, with the intelligence and information in there, we will directly break into the lair and eliminate them completely. Kong said excitedly. Garp picked his nose disdainfully at the side, he hated this kind of threat to his family, even if he was a pirate. Sengoku took a deep breath and asked, Marshal Sora, how are you going to imprison Corazon's family? Although Sengoku is also ashamed of this method of threatening his family, but at this moment, they really have nothing to do. Advertisement. After all, both Zephyr and Aokiji were captured, and Sengoku didn't care if they were not rescued, but he was worried about Aokiji's life. Kong was a bit hesitant. Logically speaking, Naval Headquarters is the safest place, but he and Sengoku Garp are basically half-disabled. With this half-disabled body, they are going to fight Corazon in its heyday. I'm afraid I won't be killed. How about the world government? Those moths should help in this situation, right? Garp said disdainfully. Although he looked down on the 5 elders and those celestial dragons, in this case, apart from the Naval Headquarters, that is, the world government is probably the safest. No, I asked the 5 elders, they mean that the life of the celestial dragons comes first. Kong shook his head and said. The last time Corazon visited the world government, several celestial dragons died tragically on the spot. This time, the 5 elders absolutely did not dare to put the battle center on Mariajoy. That, Sengoku frowned. Naval Headquarters can't, world government can't, so is there any safe place in the world? It will be completed in advance. Kong decided that the walls of Impel Down are all made of seastone, and they are heavily guarded. Most importantly, the distance from world government and naval headquarters is not far away. Once Impel Down is attacked, their support will soon be over. Able to. This matter must be kept secret. Although I don't believe they can break through the defense of Impel Down, they have to guard against it. Kong said in a deep voice. Yes. In the office, Sengoku Garp Akainu and the 3.5 disabled said something loudly, and Kizaru also responded weakly. Let alone Impel Down, Kizaru will not have any objections even if he is locked up at his house, because he has already planned to run away when he sees Corazon, otherwise he will be caught. Oh, you actually set your target on Zun Wang's family, what a despicable fellow. Withdrawing his perception of Kapu Sengoku, Ju's figure slowly appeared on the ground of the palace, and opened his eyes with a sneer. If it wasn't for his Spore technique, he would have missed this situation. After hearing Ju's words, Corazon's eyes flickered with coldness, and he punched a big hole in the wall. Those guys dare to ignore the red line of death. Corazon's voice was very angry. You must know that it is the rule of the entire pirate world that disasters do not harm family members. Even the worst pirates will be despised by anyone and even have murderous intentions once they do such a thing. This can be seen from the future Straw Hat Pirates, no matter who Luffy offends, no one takes his crew members as a threat. Germa 66 is not counted, it is already extremely bad. Because of this, Corazon didn't worry about Doflamingo's comfort, but he didn't expect that Marine dared to take the initiative to step out of this red line. HMPH, since that's the case, don't blame me for being ruthless. Corazon's eyes were cold, and he looked at the white-haired Accelerator, the brown-haired Masaka Makoto, and the blonde-haired Shokuho Masaki. Chapter 87. The Accelerator Who Smashed Impel Down Part 1. Advertisement. Chapter 87. The Accelerator Who Smashed Impel Down Part 1. Naval Headquarters on the route to Impel Down. On the warship led by Kizaru, a group of sailors sat upright with nervous expressions. Since the appearance of Corazon, Marine has never stopped. Bigum, Roger, Zephyr, Aokiji, and even Naval Headquarters were not spared from his clutches. Fortunately, Corazon's subordinates were captured this time, but they had to be sent to Impel Down secretly. The sailors on the warship felt that they were probably dreaming these days. Kizaru Vice Admiral, Impel Down can already be seen. Said a Marine Rear Admiral putting away the binoculars. Speed up and dock, Kizaru said with a bitter face that even if he was promoted to Vice Admiral, he would not be happy. After all, it was not an honorable thing, not to mention being targeted by someone. Then he stood up and carried Doflamingo who was bound by chains next to him. Pushing forward, he was greeted by a huge man, and when he saw Kizaru coming down, he immediately said, I am Magellan, the Deputy Director of Impel Down. Is it Kizaru Vice Admiral? Yes, this is the prisoner Doflamingo. Kizaru couldn't wait to hand over Doflamingo, Tesoro and others to Magellan, and left Impel Down as if fleeing by boat. Even if he is killed, he doesn't want to have any contact with Doflamingo anymore. In case this kid is released, he will say a few bad things about him in Corazon's ear. Corazon is probably capable of killing him all over the world. Hiss. Magellan gasped. Naval Headquarters Vice Admiral Kizaru, a user with flashing fruit ability, known as the fastest man in the world, was so afraid of Corazon, even Corazon's younger brother, it simply surprised him. Hurry up. Lock this guy up in eternal hell, add 3 more layers of seastone chains on him. Magellan stared at Doflamingo, and said solemnly. Deputy Director Magellan, you really don't need to be too nervous, right? This guy looks like a child no matter what. As a jailer, Hannibal looked at Doflamingo suspiciously, and was very puzzled. As Doflamingo's younger brother, Corazon should be younger than Doflamingo, so it is a fantasy that a teenager can defeat Admiral. I don't know about this, but it seems that Corazon is indeed not a simple guy. Magellan looked at the tied Doflamingo and murmured. He always had an ominous premonition in his heart, but this premonition came out of nowhere, so he couldn't tell what was wrong. It's better to report to the director to take care of it, at least until Naval Headquarters gives orders, make sure there are no accidents. Ha ha ha. Deputy Director Magellan, you are too good at joking, what accidents can happen to him like this? When Hannibal laughed, and whispered. By the way, if there is an accident, it will all be pushed to Magellan, so that I can be the deputy director. Idiot, I heard it all. Magellan tapped Hannibal on the head and said coldly. This time is different from the past, I have an ominous premonition in my heart. Soon, the elevator stopped, and Magellan and Hannibal escorted Doflamingo, Tesoro and others to the depths of eternal hell. Passing many cells along the way, I watched Magellan and Hannibal pass by, each with their teeth and claws. Hey, a kid has been caught in here. Who is it? It was the Golden Lion last time. Could it be that Roger was also captured this time? It must be Roger. Idiot, how can Roger match Whitebeard? It's a scene from hell. Seeing this, Hannibal felt a little guilty. It's just a defeated dog that was caught, a waste on the sea. Advertisement. Magellan said coldly, not even bothering to look at them. The two quickly put Doflamingo in the deepest cell number 2 and left. After leaving, eternal hell, which is usually as quiet as death, became lively. Hey, he was locked in the deepest cell number 2, it seems that this time a guy came in some serious. Golden Lion was imprisoned in the first cell, and this guy was imprisoned in the second cell. Could it be that he is a new big pirate? Who is it? Who is it? I have never heard of it. Lousy really wants to go back to the sea. Old Lion, this kid is actually imprisoned by your side, hurry up and see who it is. Golden Lion glanced impatiently at the cell next to him. It didn't matter, he was stunned for a moment, and then he laughed loudly. The family of that B*********** D Corazon was actually caught in eternal hell, ha 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 ha, that brat didn't expect Marine to be so shameless. But this time, clang. This is the sound of something cracking, and it made the entire eternal hell quiet. What sound? Clang. There was another sound, more violent than the previous one, and the entire eternal hell trembled. Then, under the watchful eyes of everyone, a stream of water gushed out from the number 2 cell, and dense cracks like spider webs appeared on the wall. Quote. This is. The sea water is rushing in. Some people have sharp eyes and recognize them at a glance. The wall made of sea stone was smashed. Golden Lion's eyes widened, and he said in disbelief, Hey, that lunatic from Corazon. No way. Bang. A shocking explosion made the entire eternal hell tremble. Accompanied by the light still pouring in, many prisoners could see that the tens of meters thick sea stone wall instantly cracked and was destroyed to pieces. Are you kidding? That's a wall made of sea stone. The prisoners in eternal hell are about to pee in terror. Is that sea stone, the hardest metal in the world, broken by brute force? At this moment, all the prisoners in eternal hell swallowed a mouthful of saliva, staring at the broken and cracked walls. Then, they saw it. A pair of pale and slender hands stretched out from between the gaps in the wall of Hai Zhao's building stone, and after grabbing it, he pulled it suddenly. Boom. Fork. The walls made of sea stone are easily torn apart like bread. Golden Lion stood up involuntarily, looking at the pale and slender palm in disbelief. Call it brute force. Who has such great brute force? Ability. This is a sea stone. No matter how strong the ability is, it's useless. That demon of Corazon, is it really him? Your Majesty, this dilapidated wall is really thick enough, and tearing it up is troublesome enough. We must raise this place to the ground soon. An impatient voice sounded. Appearing in front of the eternal hell prisoners was a white-haired demon with white hair and red pupils, full of killing intent. With a slender figure, there is no evidence of any strength, but the oppressive feeling released from his body is incomparable. As his figure walked in, Golden Lion's eyes suddenly enlarged. Your Majesty, really Corazon. Chapter 88 Shocked Impel Down, Second More. Advertisement. Chapter 88 Shocked Impel Down, Second More. Accelerator, can't you make the opening a little wider? It's too narrow. Corazon looked helplessly at the gap in the Impel Down in front of him. Accelerator was only 1.68 meters tall, so it was not difficult to get in. However, although he is not yet an adult, he already has a height of nearly 2.3 meters. The opening in front of him can be said to perfectly isolate him. Fang Accelerator looked back, only to realize that something was wrong, and hurriedly punched the wall of sea stone, tearing a hole of more than 3 meters, allowing Corazon to come in. Come on, I'm just kidding. Many pirates swallowed unknowingly. Although they saw Accelerator tearing up the sea stone wall with his hands, they still couldn't believe it. Hey, that strong man called Yifang Accelerator, can you rescue me? I am the great pirate ghost Axe Jack. If you rescue me, it will definitely help you. Seeing the strength of Yifang Accelerator, a prisoner shouted in surprise. The eyes of the other prisoners were also filled with surprise. If they could tear apart the sea stone walls, breaking the sea stone chains on them probably wouldn't be a problem. Accelerator snorted coldly, and stepped lightly. In an instant, the floor rolled and collapsed 960, and the entire eternal hell was shaking. Cracks like spider webs appeared on the ground in an instant. A bunch of rubbish, shut up, or I'll kill you. Accelerator said in a cold voice with killing intent. The coldness in the tone made hundreds of eternal hell prisoners shudder. It's so murderous. How many people did that guy kill? It has such power with such a light tap. That's the ground made of sea stone. What kind of monster is this? When the prisoners saw this scene, they were almost scared to pee. It was too exaggerated. The bursting ground, scattered smoke and falling rocks are flying all over the sky like angel wings. It would be fine if it was an ordinary ground, but the ground of eternal hell is made of sea stone, which is exactly the same as the material of the outer wall. All the big pirates over 100 million are imprisoned here, but they have never seen this kind of monster. White hair, red pupils, clear face, tense skin, slender body line, BGAH, gray tone clothes with a one-way street logo, muscular hands and feet, and shiny black leather shoes. Like a demon, Golden Lion muttered to himself, then looked at Corazon sullenly. Little ghost, you made Lousy so miserable last time, you still dare to appear in front of Lousy, aren't you afraid that Lousy will kill you? Ah la la, Golden Lion, I didn't even see you if you didn't speak. Corazon clapped his hands as if he had just seen Golden Lion, making Golden Lion's face even more gloomy, and said with a smile. Speaking of which, last time you were caught by Marine, it was really useless. You must know that Marine was basically beaten to half mutilation by me. In this case, you can be caught and become a prisoner. How dare you speak wild words? Brat. The Golden Lion roared and looked at Corazon angrily, dragging the sea stone chain with both feet. The prisoners around gasped when they heard Corazon's words, and looked at Corazon in shock. What did he just say? Marine was beaten to a half by him. Golden Lion's imprisonment also has something to do with him. What kind of monster is this? Advertisement. Wait, look at that white-haired devil. A pirate suddenly discovered something and pointed at Accelerator in shock. He is actually standing behind that man named Corazon. Hiss. Many pirates looked over and were even more shocked. Accelerator was standing next to Corazon, but his position was obviously one step behind, which proved that he respected or was loyal to that man. That kind of monster actually surrenders to other people. Just thinking about it makes the heart of the sea in eternal hell shudder. My poor Oni-chan, I'm here to save you. Corazon grinned, and under the stunned expressions of everyone, he punched the cell on the second floor. Boom. That was a blow that shook the entire Impel Down, firmly piercing the white arm through the seastone cell. Crunch. Corazon didn't pay attention at all, grinned, and then grabbed the two bars of the cell with both hands, stepped on it, and crushed the groaning seastone bar with the sunken ground. What? Seeing this scene, even the big pirates who once galloped the sea, many of whom had a bounty of 1 billion, couldn't help but gasp. Forcibly tore apart the seastone railing, then walked to Doflamingo and pinched 2 fingers on it. Kacha kacha. The seastone chain was cut off by Chi-Gen, and Doflamingo heaved a sigh of relief, knowing that this was not the time to reminisce, so he hurriedly followed behind Corazon. But at this very moment, open black lens bracket Impel Down close black lens bracket it boils, the alarm sounds. Magellan and Hannibal, who had just left for a short time, suddenly changed their expressions when they heard the movement. This movement, is someone hacking Impel Down? Hannibal panicked. Could it be that Doflamingo's big brother, Don Quixote Corazon? However, he didn't believe it when he said it. Impel Down has only one entrance, and the other walls are all made of seastone. It would be a ghost if it could be invaded. Magellan's complexion became extremely ugly. At this moment, he finally confirmed his premonition. It's definitely the king of that empire. What kind of monster is this? Hannibal can't be stopped like this. You should report to the director quickly. By the way, let the Marine and world government quickly send people to support. I'll stop it here, absolutely not, something went wrong. I see, Deputy Director Magellan. Hannibal quickly agreed, and ran away in a hurry, while Magellan returned the same way as fast as he could, feeling extremely anxious. That monster can invade Impel Down in this situation. At the same time, Kizaru, who was sailing rapidly on the sea, trembled all over, looked back in horror, and shouted, "Quick, sail at full speed, hurry back to Naval Headquarters." Chapter 89 Stepping on the Golden Lion's Arm 3rd. Advertisement. Chapter 89 Stepping on the Golden Lion's Arm 3rd Update. Corazon, are you leaving now? Golden Lion stared at Corazon with eyes full of murderous intent. If he hadn't been able to move now, even if he tried his best, he would have to kill this kid who destroyed everything he had. Well, what are you thinking, idiot lion? Corazon's eyes flickered coldly, and he looked at Golden Lion and said, Marine dares to do something to my relatives. If he doesn't teach him a lesson, how can he calm down the anger in my heart? While speaking, Corazon kicked against the wall, and Accelerator's vector control instantly deprived the energy of this sea area, and the violent force caused the entire Impel Down to shake violently. What's up? What's up? What happened? Is this prison about to collapse? Are you kidding? This is in the depths of the sea, if it collapses we will all die. The shaking of eternal hell is okay, after all, it is at the deepest level, but the beast hell and crimson hell on the top level are not so wonderful. Pirates were beaten to death, and screamed in horror. All of a sudden, the huge Impel Down fell into panic. The root is broken, the next step is to let those Marines understand what punishment is, and let them know that it is terrible to take action against my family. A cold light flashed in Corazon's eyes, and he looked at Golden Lion and said, Don't play tricks on you, Accelerator, put his hands in shackles. Golden Lion shuddered all over, and looked at Corazon in shock. Did Corazon see through his heart? No, how is that possible? Golden Lion is really unbelievable, you know, he just thought of cutting off his feet and escaping from Impel Down. However, before it was put into practice, it was said by Corazon. The Golden Lion was almost speechless in shock. Yes, Your Majesty. Accelerator responded respectfully, and then kicked Golden Lion's cell away, and under Golden Lion's shocked gaze, he twisted the railing into a shackle. Who are you? A strong man like you can't be unknown. Why follow that brat? If you cooperate with me, you will have your fighting power and Laozi's troops. This world. Golden Lion looked at Accelerator, took a deep breath, and said seductively, but before he could finish speaking, Accelerator kicked him, and then Accelerator punched the wall next to Golden Lion. Boom. Accompanied by a shocking explosion, the entire number 1 cell collapsed and turned into ruins. The prisoners outside were shocked when they saw this scene. Hey, what did that kid do? You don't even give the Golden Lion any face. Don't be stupid, the Golden Lion's fleet is gone, how can that strong man give Golden Lion face? Shut up, or I'll kill you, Accelerator said in a cold voice. The killing intent in the tone chilled Golden Lion, but after all, Golden Lion is a hero on the sea, wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth, and looked at the passage full of murderous intent. Little ghost, Laozi remembers you. Accelerator turned his cold eyes away. The ruins exploded suddenly, and Golden Lion's body flew out along with the broken seastone chain fragments. It slammed into the wall so hard that the entire wall was dented before stopping. Seeing this scene, the prisoners swallowed hard. I wondered what kind of murderer this is. Advertisement. Golden Lion just uttered a harsh word, the ribs all over his body were broken, right? Crack, crack. 2 clear and chilling cracking sounds sounded, and one of Accelerator's kicks crushed the Golden Lion's 2 arm bones. Corazon just glanced at it, then turned his head to look at the ceiling indifferently. Someone is here, the pungent smell is Magellan. HMPH, it's okay, just hit it. As soon as the words fell, the elevator door of Eternal Hell opened, and a dense crowd of jailers swarmed in. When Corazon walked over calmly, these jailers started their actions and surrounded Corazon and Accelerator in an instant. Ix. The leading jailer snorted coldly. Attack all, kill this madman. In an instant, the rain of bullets poured down, not to mention the shells of the cannon, which fired tens of thousands of densely packed bullets in an instant. Ask for flowers. However, Accelerator's eyes turned cold, he stomped his feet fiercely, and all the physical attacks returned intact. Ah, get out of the way. I've been shot, save me quickly. Invalid, none. All attacks are ineffective, the person holding the gun just feels that the shot will be reflected back inexplicably as soon as the gun is fired, and the same is true for the cannon. In just a split second, the swarming jailers were wiped out by their own attacks. Maggot, you dare to attack the king in front of me, who do you think I am? Accelerator stretched out his palm with a cold gaze, any attack seemed to have hit a wall, stopped straight in midair, and then shot back instantly. Quick, hurry up and find cover, this guy's ability is reflection. A jailer shouted loudly, and was pierced through the heart by the reflected bullet in the next second. If the bullets and cannons don't work, they will release poisonous gas and hypnosis gas, but the gas used will only be manipulated by an inexplicable airflow, and then inhaled by the jailer and the surrounding prisoners. Throwing a flash bomb, the light is immediately included in the ranks of reflection, not to mention grenades and the like. Saw, Accelerator, I'll leave this place to you, I'll go up and have a look. Corazon glanced at the jailer who was crushed, his legs slightly bent, and with a sudden jump, the partition between eternal hell and freezing hell was more than 10 meters thick. Kick the wall. The prisoners around took a breath when they saw it. They thought Accelerator would be strong enough, but they didn't expect Corazon to be stronger. Yes, Your Majesty, Accelerator agreed, and then looked at the jailers with cold eyes. The attack is very intensive, but it's useless to me. I'm not interested in fighting you idiots. Get lost, I have to chase after the king. After Fang Accelerator finished speaking, he looked at the prison guards who hadn't moved, a trace of coldness flashed in his crimson pupils, and he stomped his foot down. Forget it, let's just kill you, you bastards. Boom. At this moment, the 6th floor of the Eternal Hell really turned into a hellman. Chapter 90. Flame Pterosaur above Impel Down 4th. Advertisement. Chapter 90. Flame Pterosaur above Impel Down 4th update. Corazon passed through the extremely thick ice layer and came to the 5th floor of freezing hell. Looking at the endless ice field, Corazon couldn't help showing excitement in his eyes. The building of Impel Down is really good, Crimson Hell on the 1st floor, Beast Hell on the 2nd floor, Starvation Hell on the 3rd floor, Blazing Hell on the 4th floor, Extremely Cold Fit on the 5th floor. There are magma and ice fields, such a wonderful building makes Corazon's desire to seize it even stronger. I don't know when Masaka Makoto Shokuho Masaki and the others will come. Muttering slightly to himself, Corazon looked up at the sky, at the intersection of freezing hell and blazing hell, and slowly pointed his finger at the sky. This time he only used Fang Accelerator's ability, and Fang Accelerator's original attack power was only 5, not even as good as an ordinary person, so weak. However, if you use your abilities, you can move mountains and fill the 623 seas. Half of the computing power of Accelerator is enough to stop the rotation of the entire Earth for 5 minutes. In the full state, the computing power is fully activated. Even Corazon does not know how strong the full power of Accelerator is. Corazon flicked his fingers casually, and immediately, the vector of the surrounding ocean was manipulated, and suddenly rolled up, turning into a violent whirlwind, directly piercing through all the hells on the upper floors. This scene frightened the pirate jailers around them dumbfounded. This kid, is he human? Breaking the sea stone in vain is definitely not capable, but this power is jaw-dropping. Dragon. At this time, an angry voice came from a distance. A giant dragon made of purple liquid flew towards Corazon. Hey, that guy Magellan is here. A prisoner said excitedly. Huh, only you, where is your director? As he spoke, Corazon raised his right hand, and his slender palm directly blocked the poisonous dragon with his bare hands. What? Magellan exclaimed, and without waiting for a response, Corazon snapped his fingers. The poisonous dragon went back untouched. Magellan was surprised, and quickly dodged, then fixed his gaze on Corazon, and shouted angrily. King of the Empire, Demon Corazon, where did you invade Impel Down? He couldn't figure out how Corazon and others got past him to the bottom of Impel Down. Well, you'll find out in a while. Corazon looked at him and said casually. At this moment, Magellan couldn't arouse his desire to speak at all. B*************, D, then you can die here. Magellan roared angrily, and the purple venom gathered together formed a huge fist with a height of more than 10 meters. Poison Fist. Xiao San Luan, jump over us and directly attack our king, you really don't know how to live or die. Accelerator jumped from the eternal hell below, kicking purple venom's fist into pieces. Magellan shrank his pupils and looked around quickly. Could it be that these two people were not the only ones who invaded this time? Deputy Director Magellan is not good. A few people came outside from Impel Down, and we are no match at all. Crimson Hell, Beast Hell, Starvation Hell has fallen. Just when Magellan was relieved to find that there was no one around, Hannibal came rushing from the elevator in a frenzy, instantly making Magellan gasp. Unexpectedly, the whole army was dispatched, and Doflamingo hadn't stayed in Impel Down for half an hour, and the opponent had already called. Those trash came quite quickly. By the way, this uncle is a one-way street for Accelerator and death. Accelerator said with his hands in his pockets. I don't care who you are, since you appeared in Impel Down, don't even think about going out. With a roar, purple venom dripped from Magellan's body, and 3 poisonous dragons flew out from his back. Advertisement. Dragon. Is your brain short-circuited? If this thing is useful, I will still stand in front of you. Boom. Accelerator disappeared in place, and the superposition of pure acceleration caused the entire freezing hell to sag. Boom. Under the loud noise, Fang Accelerator kicked it, and the poisonous dragon was smashed to pieces in an instant, scattered all over the place. Damn it, the poisonous dragon has all been bounced off. Director, when will you come over? Magellan's face was extremely ugly, and he quickly stepped back, looking anxiously into the sky. Corazon also took a playful look and looked up to the sky. From the very beginning, he felt that there was a wave of observation hockey, which had been peeping at them. Director of Impel Down, the aura should be Zone's demon fruit power. Who is it? Corazon jumped slightly, and walked out of Impel Down. Idiot, speed doesn't work in front of me. Seeing Corazon leave, Accelerator stepped on the ground in an instant, and rushed towards Magellan at a high speed. He is Zunwang's subordinate, how could he let Zunwang face the powerful enemy by himself? Magellan's face changed, and he opened his mouth to spit out dense purple bubbles to prevent a party from passing. Poison gas. The bubbles dispersed, turning the entire air into a poisonous gas. Accelerator laughed disdainfully. Playing with poisonous gas in front of the vector manipulation, it's like using a hatchet in front of everyone. He rushed directly into the dense poisonous gas, raised his hand and fell. A violent whirlwind soared into the sky, turned into a tornado, rolled up the poisonous gas, and blasted directly on Magellan's body. What? Magellan's pupils narrowed sharply, completely unable to understand the traffic ability of one party. Facing the hurricane, he quickly retreated, but there was already a wall behind him. Before the hurricane approached, Accelerator appeared next to Magellan. Kick it out with one kick. This kick absorbs all the vectors of the surrounding sea area, and the powerful kinetic energy it brings makes the space tremble slightly. The oppressive feeling made Magellan sweat, and when he stretched out his hand, the pungent venom spread on his body. Poison shield. At this moment, the purple liquid solidified, forming a purple armor on Magellan's body. However, with a loud crash, the purple armor exploded instantly, and Magellan felt a meteorite hit him in the stomach, and spit out a mouthful of blood. The whole person's head fell into a blank. How can it be? Before Magellan could finish his sentence, he heard a heart-numbing cracking sound on Magellan's body. His huge body flew upside down 2.6 degrees, smashed several icebergs in a row, and passed out immediately after falling. The eyes of the prisoners who saw this scene almost popped out. Magellan and the others know that although the ability of the poisonous fruit is not Logia, it is far superior to Logia with its poisonous gas, especially when the ability can be fully utilized in Impel Down. It is not even weaker than the General Marine Elite Vice Admiral. However, he was almost kicked to death by the obviously weak white demon in front of him. How strong is that kick? It's time to find the king, but... Accelerator frowned, smashed the surrounding walls with a punch, and saw a flame pterosaur flying extremely fast in the sky through the sea water. What it is?